What's good, family? Welcome to a Modern Hoops podcast show with the freshest opinions and views on the world's most beautiful game. I'm your host, Greg, and I'm here with the homies, the squad, Dunkman, Keith, B, TK. Boys, how are we feeling?
Raining.
I was about to say, it is raining. It's raining. I'm feeling good. It's been a good week. Glad to be back in with y'all. Excited to talk about hoops starting back up, finally.
Real hoops?
It felt like it was like a week or two with no basketball. And I know it was only like 4 or 5 days.
Is that because the All-Star game was so bad?
Yeah, I think that's what
we don't
it
have
really
to
was.
talk about it, but if y'all want to give it like a good 3 minutes of...
It just felt like it extended the break because while that was supposed to be a blissful moment of basketball success, achievement, celebration. Yeah, it just felt draining. So the rest of the days, you're just waiting for games to start back up.
Yep.
And whenever you're waiting for anything or anticipating anything, it takes so much longer. So these 4 or 5 days without hoops because of the All-Star break just felt so long. And yes, it's probably because the All-Star game was weak, to say the least.
Is an understatement. I'm gonna tell the truth, America. I cut it on.
After saying you weren't going to watch anything.
After I said I wasn't gonna watch anything, I cut it on.
And then you
cut
it off?
Immediately.
Oh no, I fell asleep.
Oh, okay.
Dude, like at the second quarter, I was knocked.
It was bad.
I was like, I didn't even care to stay awake for this.
I changed the channel.
I checked all the like the comments and stuff. They said it was trash. It was bad.
It was
I was
awful.
like, man, I
awful.
don't get to say I told you so often, but golly,
You say it.
that was bad, man. And I'm glad they got the hate they got. All I'm gonna say is
The players were hit. Like Jaylen Brown was like, that ain't basketball. Like to have an all-star say the all-star game wasn't bad. They said it wasn't basketball. Like that's
crazy.
That's a term in hoops you use a lot when something is that atrocious. Is when it's not has no business being a part of the game, the sport,
being a product.
Exactly. Is you say it's not basketball. You can call that something else. You can say what they're holding is a basketball, what they're using is a basketball, but what they're doing with it is not the sport of basketball. So I felt like that was telling somebody who's going to participate in the game, have one of the very few bright spots of the entire game, but it happens every year when somebody just plays one-on-one for a couple of possessions.
Right.
But they even have guys like that saying it's garbage or
It's not even basketball.
yeah, it's not even what we are
what
claiming
we
it to
deem
be.
as a sport. Crazy.
I think that paints a better picture than anything that I could possibly say about the All-Star game.
Facts.
Is that a basketball player was out there saying that he wasn't playing the sport he gets paid for.
Facts. And I'm just going to put it all out there. Everyone who's saying, oh, this is how you fix the All-Star game. Make it World versus USA. Or make it East and West again. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is it's not competitive. If that group isn't competitive, it's not going to be enjoyable. It has nothing to do with how you decide to make it East versus West incentives. If they don't want to play competitive basketball, it's going to be a bad product every time.
Each and every time.
Every time. So don't come up here with all these cute ideas. Oh, we should make the game worth more. We should make it like
I actually like all their ideas, but they're just not the
that's
root
not the
of the
problem.
problem.
That's
yeah.
not the problem.
The root of the problem is lack of competitiveness. And then you could look at that root and you can branch off and things. And that's why we had this whole think piece and discussion last time about how drastically you will have to change this in order to actually have a certain push. But at the end of the day, you could change every single little detail about All-Star Weekend. If you don't have guys in there being competitive, it's still garbage.
Right. That's it. You got anything to say on it, B?
I was forced to watch the game because my girl wanted to watch it. So I just kind of sat back and watched and was completely
That's how you know it's bad. Like usually it's a celebration. It's you want to write it down, you want to go to the club, and you want to hang out with your guys and pop bottles when you hear a statement like that. My girl wanted to watch the game, like the All-Star game. You didn't have to fight for it, like
because my girl does love hoops, like she does love basketball. So
that's the sad part about the game, Brian.
Like,
you didn't want to watch it.
You
Like
love
that's
hoops?
the crazy part.
You love basketball?
I love basketball.
It's like,
and like I said, I turned on the first quarter, and after the first quarter, like you, I was just completely uninterested. I was just like, all right, like this is what it is.
Bro,
tonight.
you know how you watch a movie and you realize, oh shoot, I fell asleep.
30 minutes in, you just
Like, dang, I missed the whole thing.
and you know you're not gonna put it
Credits
back
rolling.
on. You know you're not gonna play it back. It wasn't good enough.
That's exactly what happened, bro. I woke up. Chuck was talking, man. Or not Chuck. It was because Chuck was out. I don't know who was talking. It was TNT. They were talking. I was like, God dang, I missed the whole game.
It was bad, bro. So I was forced to watch the entire game, and then my conclusion at the end of the game was, this is the Pro Bowl now.
It's Pro Bowl. I'm fine with having
the
it
NBA
after
Pro Bowl.
the NBA Finals, and we just do a celebration of the season. But to Greg's point and to your sentiments, B, if it ain't competitive, and I'm not saying they got to be out there, you know,
you gotta die for no loose ball.
like we don't have to go break noses in All-Star games. You know what I mean? Dwayne Wade didn't mean to do that to Bean. Like those are just accidents that may occur when you're playing a little bit more competitive. So I understand that we're running the risk of injuries, but you're wasting everybody's time in the weekend by putting on this. Like, that's all this is. It's a waste of time, money, and effort.
If this is what it's gonna be,
It's a waste.
let these stars just go to wherever island they want to go to and take their
Luka
break.
could have been in Mexico. Like, y'all held that man hostage in the
Let my
States.
man- let-
in Utah. You held Luka hostage in Utah.
And we didn't even get to the actual Utah element of this whole process. Like, we didn't even talk about that, and we could leave it alone.
Why would I leave it
can leave it
alone?
alone.
He should have left some people alone.
There you go. Hey,
We could go a whole think piece on the All-Star weekend and how bad it was, top to bottom, from the NBA players to the NBA itself being extremely hypocritical and
insensitive.
There's a lot of things they were, but I'm gonna focus on the hypocritical part.
Yeah.
You have Karl Malone. For people who out there, you should know by now if
Just
you're
Google
a casual
Karl
Hoop
Malone
fan,
at
but
13.
exactly. But for those who don't know, NBA number three leading
now.
scorer now,
Yep.
which is why he was even at the All-Star game, in my opinion. It was a photo op for Utah and a chance to have all three of the top scorers in the league there together.
Yep.
But he had a child with a 12-year-old. The age keeps getting flipped back and forth.
Yeah.
While he was in college, Louisiana Tech University is where he went.
Yeah.
Pretty much disregards the child. Child grows up by himself. I believe makes the league, like the NFL, or something like that. There were multiple.
story.
Yeah, that's the story. He made the NFL, and Karl Malone still dismisses him. Has nothing to do with him. Could care less about the child. That by all standards, this is statutory. Yeah, but he gets to judge the NBA slam dunk contest front and center in Utah. That guy, who has never, ever remotely apologized or even made it seem like he regrets the decision or have a bad feeling, is basically, y'all can think what y'all think and I don't care. That's always been his public response. Always. Now, let's consider the last 2 years of what the NBA has deemed suspendable or horrendous or what they chose to fight against for players.
Right.
Whether you want to go back with Miles Leonard making a comment that he didn't even understand what was being said on his Twitch stream, all the instances of Kyrie, or any instances you want to hear. Are any of them as bad as Karl Malone sleeping with a 12-year-old and still getting praise after he doesn't even care about feeling any remorse or regret? No, I don't need an answer. I'm not actually answering. No, it's not. So All-Star Weekend was bad from top to bottom for like a plethora of reasons, down from the competitiveness to having Karl Malone highlighted and celebrated, to just the downright waste of effort and ability by everybody on that court. I agree with you. I agree with Leak last week when he said we should just have them a break so the bump off the break could be better. Honestly, it was All-Star Weekend was a shit show, to say the least. And it really hurts me because
I like it.
this is supposed to be the second best, in my opinion, global sport.
I've enjoyed the All-Star Weekend my entire life. Like, I've enjoyed that moment where you have the dunk contest. We remember NBA Live 05.
Man, what?
It
Goated.
embodied the
Goated.
All-Star
Live
Weekend.
05 is still why people are
Goated.
trying to get live to compete with 2K. Like, people got to realize that. 18 years ago, or however many years
Bruh,
ago,
that game.
they're still trying to get live to compete with 2K because of
Like-
that one game.
Like, it embodied All-Star Weekend the way I've always envisioned it growing up. Like, and because of that, And because we do have the moments where we saw what year was that? 2001. It was like AI,
All of them,
Shaq,
yeah.
Hope,
Those had some
BC.
hard jerseys. Oh
Like-
no, were they? They were still in
They were
the
like the home
regular
jerseys.
the
Yeah,
home
the
jerseys, Jones, right?
Yeah.
Man, that joint was so hard.
Jason Kidd, I think, was in that one. Like there was some years where, man, now I do feel like the boomer that Manny was talking about, because now I'm referring back to some of these kids y'all don't even understand.
Like, even going back to just 2013 when it was like that Kobe versus LeBron
Man.
hype and moment. It was like, and honestly, that was what, and granted, everybody likes to point to that play where it's like Jason Tatum cleared out the side of the court, him and Jaylen Brown. But if we're honest with ourselves, and this is what made it bad, that was probably the most exciting part of the game.
That's what I said. Jaylen Brown was a part of one of the most exciting sequences of the entire All-Star game, and it was
Like-
something that happens every year. A quick one-on-one.
Like, quick, mano a mano. Granted, this is teammate against teammate, so, hey, a little bit
It ain't
more,
even no beef for real.
like,
We do this in
exactly, but just
practice
like,
all the
hey,
time.
like, whatever. Like, this is it on the stage or the biggest stage, whatever. And, like, that moment encapsulates what we want to see in the All-Star game to some extent. We want to see the best of the best compete against each other to a reasonably high level. We're not asking you to give NBA Finals energy, but, like,
We want you to play.
I
though.
want Kobe Bryant at the Pro-Am energy. Like, you against James Harden, y'all going bucket for bucket. Like, show us that. But, like,
I mean, to your mentioning of being, I think this is the same All-Star game, maybe 2013. I think this is when he has that block on LeBron in the All-Star game. I think this is when he has the breakaway dunk. LeBron had tried to have the chase down block
down,
on him. So when you have moments like that, not finals level, you know what I mean? Like, Bean didn't sprint down that floor for a transition bang out, and Bron didn't try his hardest on that jump shot that being blocked. But to a certain degree, you're allowing yourself to play basketball, like run through something, even if you're gonna have a big on big pick and roll, something that looks like or resembles any kind of basketball. But nah, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like a pacer test now.
Yep.
no.
Yep.
I will say one of the funniest moments and one thing I did enjoy, and granted, I hope they do continue to do this in other All-Star games, granted, with better competition, was when they actually mic'd up players while they were playing.
Yeah.
That was actually kind of cool. Like,
Hearing Luka talk, pass
Here-
the ball, that was cool. I was like, did they
Luka-
do this last year?
I don't, and maybe they have, and I just don't remember. But like hearing Luka, like I think there was a moment like Luka was just like, oh, he's like, oh man, I forgot to play. Like, like it was just fun to have like that little moment.
It was really fun. I can't say
like,
that. Having
so-
Luka mic'd up was hilarious.
So like just having that moment, maybe bring that back. Granted, with a more competitive game, would be interesting. Shout out to Matt McClung, holding it down.
Like that. Think about it. The most, and I'll leave it at this. The most exciting thing that happened during this entire All-Star weekend is we got to see a G League
Now two-way
player. Now
Yes.
two-way.
But
But at that time, and mind you, there's still reports that was forced simply because of people like me and a whole lot of
Really?
other fan bases.
Yeah.
Yeah, sitting here and saying, hey, we're going to have a G League guy. So the NBA is kind of like, hey, give him a contract. Mind you, it's two-way. They got all the money in the world for it.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not trying to disrespect Mac or come at his contract or say that it's fluke or something like that.
That's just what you're hearing.
This is just what I'm hearing.
Okay.
But even before then, the most exciting part about All-Star Weekend, NBA All-Star Weekend, is what we got to see a G League competitor kill the dunk contest.
You put it on the show.
No, like he killed it. Like it was great. But if that's the best thing of All-Star Weekend, you can just have it. You can just keep it.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna make it in a destination where players want to go, but if that's not gonna be the case, just keep it.
Now that All-Star Weekend is over, let's get back to the league. Let's get back to
basketball.
basketball. Back to it.
Actual basketball.
Pretty much right out of the All-Star break, the Hawks just dropped a bombshell on us. That I quite honestly
Was it a
wasn't.
bombshell?
I didn't consider it a bombshell.
I was not.
I didn't think it was a bombshell.
I
We
was not
wondered if this
expecting-
was gonna happen. I didn't think it was
He
gonna happen.
literally
this year.
tried to quit a month ago.
He took that leave, and they were like, "No, stay."
Man.
They knew what they were doing.
Like I feel
I
like
did
they
not
went into
see
all.
this.
I feel like Nate just went into the All-Star break like, hey, like I'm not coming back. So
I hope so. I hope so.
What y'all gonna do about it?
For those who do not know, the Atlanta Hawks fired, at least that's what's being reported, Coach Nate McMillan past Tuesday. clearing the way for an immediate search that will start with leading candidate Quin Snyder.
Start and end.
And that's pretty much what it is.
Seems like.
Quin Snyder conversations progressed really, really fast, and it's looking like he's going to take the job. And this is pretty much all set up by the Hawks brass. They really got to it fast between general manager Landry Fields, assistant GM Kyle Korver. That's so amazing to say. Yeah, they seem like they got their new guy, but we've had conversations about the Hawks and coaching changes, seat changes. How are we? When you heard this news, what was your first reactions? What were you thinking? Going through it. I'll start with you, B.
First reaction, not surprised at all. It seemed like it was always kind of trending this direction, especially once we heard about the feud between Nate and Trae. We had that story that, granted, Nate McMillan refuted, but came out saying Nate was that he was considering stepping down, that he was ready to walk away from the team as well. So I wasn't surprised by the report at all. They're still a play-in team. Like, I think they just hit 500 again last night. So first reaction was not surprised. Second reaction was Trae Young's under some pressure now. Like, the honeymoon phase is over. You were the darling of the league for a little bit. Now we're on your third coach that you've had problems with. I've alluded to his leadership questions before. Like, the clock is ticking on Trae Young now. We're past everything else. So it's going to be interesting to see. Quin Snyder has been proven to be a good coach in this league. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of steps into the role. If the Hawks have another turnaround this season, kind of that they had similar to Nate McMillan when he took over, that would be quite interesting. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting summer for Trae Young, especially if they don't turn this around quickly.
T.
They're going to trade Trae Young this summer.
Ooh.
They're going to trade Trae Young this summer. They're going to trade Trae Young this summer. That's what this move told me. And I don't think you go out and you get a guy like Quin Snyder and not make a move sometime by the next trade deadline. Yeah. But I'm saying by game one of the 2023-2024 season, Trae Young is not going to be an Atlanta Hawk. I think they're going to play out the rest of this year. I do not think it's going to get significantly better than what it already is. I think Trae's going to play somewhat to a decent level, but not to anything that would have changed the narrative about what has happened over the last couple of years in Atlanta. Yeah. But like we go back to a year or so ago when they first got Murray, the first thing I said is this makes it easy to make a quick soft reset. That's what we're about to see. And I think they're going to trade Trae Young this summer because they did not move John Collins.
I was about to say that.
They were not able to move John Collins by the trade deadline. You go out there, you get a new coach, and maybe part of this is me rolling the dice saying I think I'm going to watch history repeat itself and Trae not get along swimmingly well with another coach. So you're
gonna follow the data, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. You know, I would love to see something new. I'm not rooting against Trae, and I think Quin Snyder is a phenomenal coach, but I personally don't think they're going to hit it off on some, even if we want to say Luka, J. Kidd type of vibes, where we can argue, could J. Kidd be a better coach? For sure, easily. Mm-hmm. Does Luka love having him as a coach? Yeah, easily. You can see for the most part, it's gonna hit. It might hit that point where they disagree, but I don't know if Quin Snyder and Trae Young will ever hit that point of being on the same page. And I think for the last third of this year, a little less than a third of the year, I believe, we're going to find that out. If they don't have this kind of like fluent, almost easygoing, almost natural type of vibe and success, Trae Young is going to be on the market in the summer, and we're going to be looking to move him big to either fill out roles where we're going to have multiple vets and guys who can actually play 25 to 30 minutes a game, flesh it out, keep the ball in Murray's hands, and upgrade John Collins' role. Or we're going to move Trae and see what else is out there in terms of star power. Now, the one thing that better not happen is Ben Simmons in an Atlanta Hawks uniform, or I'm going off myself. But other than that, we can figure out some stuff. But that is not the trade you make.
Hey, look, man. I don't know how anyone could ever look at Ben Simmons like that's the contract we want.
That's not what you trade your max for anymore. The last person who could have made that deal was New York and Philly. Now everybody should know you better not give up a max for Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Or max caliber. Let me say that.
Yeah, that's not the move. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with that thought process because that's all I kept thinking when we got past the trade deadline. And it just kept being crickets on all the guys that were being rumored to get moved, like John Collins. Like,
Atlanta ain't do nothing.
They were like, no, we're going to keep him. We're going to keep him. We're good here. And I was like, all right, that means we understand that there has been some dissension. At least that's what's rumored. Because there are conversations.
It's a lot of rumors.
It's a lot of rumors. And that's what I want people to understand too. People are like, Trae Young's not that bad of a player. He's not a bad guy. All that in the third. I'm cool. And I'm always giving players
amazing talent. Like we're not disrespecting his talent
with the mindset of giving players the benefit of the doubt when it comes to those things. But you're 2 coaches in. I'm not calling him a coach killer, but you're 2 coaches in. And I'm not calling him a headache, but you always got beef with the same people. Now, I'm like,
and they always got beef with you.
And he always got beef with you. At least that's what's rumored. And then you still here. And if that's the case, then people are looking around saying, it might be you.
It gotta be you. Like at a certain point, and I'm not saying it is him because I'm not in that building.
Not there.
But at a certain point, I don't care what other evidence I see. If I see the same problems or type of feel of problems occurring, and I see a constant, I have to blame the constant. Now, can I be wrong? For sure. But I would be stupid to think otherwise. Like, that's how I think. So while it may not be Trae Young or it could be the entire Atlanta Hawks or something, we don't know the inside scoop.
Yeah.
But if I see a very consistent issue, like I said before, and everything is every one of these issues tie into this one player, regardless of who his coach is so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is the one where we circle Trae Young's name, and that's why I say he's going to get traded in the offseason because I don't think these next 20 to 24 games or whatever it is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Or change perception of what somebody has to go.
Especially the front office. Like the front office is going to have to say, all right, what's the declarative move we have to make here? Because if there isn't a smooth transition like you mentioned, or with that quick turnaround like they had with Nate, with Quin Snyder showing up, if it isn't that, then now we have to look at like, all right, we've exhausted all we could.
Because you're not moving Quin. Like Quin's not a kind of coach you're just gonna fire after you hire him immediately.
Apparently, they cut him the check for like $8 million a year. Like they're in. So if that's the case, all right. You didn't move John Collins, and y'all kept saying John Collins and Trae got beef. Yeah. Now, if a superstar has beef with another player, normally we get that guy out of here.
Generally, if it's
pretty swift. It's pretty swift. But you held yours. You told your superstar, no, we gonna let him hang. That's all I'm gonna say. On it.
We're gonna see. The only way I can see anything else changing and like trade not ending up being traded is if somehow the GM gets fired. But it's gonna be a major change in the offseason. I think my money is on Trae Young finding a new home.
Yeah, man. This is gonna be interesting. Leave y'all comments, man. Let us know what y'all think about the Hawks. Let us know what y'all think about Quin Snyder getting a new gig. I'm happy for him. Quin Snyder,
he's a great coach.
He's a great head coach.
Good basketball mind.
Good head coach. So I'm happy he got a chance. And shout out to Nate McMillan, man. He came in.
Facts.
And he did what he could. And
he didn't deserve to deal with this group of headaches in terms of the hurricane surrounding him coming in. It kind of gives me.
It feels like one of the quietest hurricanes too. Like it doesn't feel like one of those loud, rambunctious type of
like the Hawks
issues
haven't been good. Like they had, like this is the thing, right? You got to put the Hawks, like everything that's happened, kind of in context. Like they had one really good run, in the play. It wasn't like they were a great regular season team.
No, they just
like they turned it around halfway through the season after Lloyd Pierce got fired. Nate McMillan took over. Mm-hmm. They turned it around in the second half of the season. Made a Eastern Conference Finals run where, if we're all quite honest, you beat a horrible Knicks team,
beat the Knicks, and then
you beat a Philly team that was imploding.
I was about to say, yeah,
like that's who you beat.
Yeah.
Like, so you got to conference final, and then like
You got
a lot of us
smacked by
came
the
here,
Bucks.
even we came here and we were like, okay, the Hawks at least have momentum. They should continue to move forward.
Yeah.
And they haven't. Last year, they were, by all definitions, average. And then you got smoked in the playoffs. And this year, you've been, once again, a 500 team. You're average. The Hawks are not I'm not going to say Atlanta's not a major media market, but they aren't like a major media sports market, if that makes sense. Like, the Hawks are like, in terms of the NBA media, like, we don't really care about the Hawks like
As a
that.
franchise,
As
they
a
haven't
franchise.
done enough in basketball to
Like,
really have
Trae
eyes
Young
on.
was supposed to be that kind of figure that was going to put them on the map.
Yeah.
And truth be told, this year, from not the entire year, but especially starting out, he was kind of bad.
Kind of. I mean, he was career bad at least.
Yeah. Exactly. He didn't make the All-Star team this year. Like, the Hawks were kind of irrelevant. They're in the back of everybody's mind. But anybody that's in the know, or like for us who are diehard basketball fans, like, we saw this storm brewing for the last 3 months. If you're not a basketball head, like, this does come out of nowhere, because it's like, oh man, I haven't thought about the Hawks in
Yeah, they haven't
3-4
really
weeks.
necessarily
Like,
been relevant.
who do I care? Why do I care about them? Well, because Nate McMillan got fired now. Like, that's just where they are. So, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see if Trae Young can kind of, because he's losing favor even in that city, as crazy as that is, because that city embraced him heavily.
Right.
I don't think that's that crazy. I don't think
It's
it's
not
deserving.
crazy. It's not crazy.
It's crazy to a point of like, it's crazy to the point of like, end of the day, like, most cities always kind of side with the superstar. Like, it just kind of always goes, especially when the superstar comes out and he puts up numbers and like he's playing. Like, but Trae Young's losing favor in that city now because it just seems like it's so much swirling around it now. And you don't have the success.
And I think it has a lot to do with the presence of DeJounte Murray. Like, him just being there and competing on a day in, day out basis, seeming to be just a really good teammate and just doing the job on kind of like on a blue collar level. Like, or maybe a more blue collar level than Trae.
I mean,
you know what I'm
I hear
saying?
what you're saying. So let's.
I was just about to be real.
Let's get to the crux of it.
Yeah,
Which one of them looks more like an Atlanta guard, DeJounte or Trae?
I was just about to even go realer than that. At this point, we got to ask ourselves, which one is better?
Ooh,
There's two sides of the basketball.
ooh.
We have one who's going to consistently
Tomorrow
give you.
day,
No,
dog.
I'm dead serious. Which
Tomorrow
one is better?
day.
I can't answer that one as easily right now. If you want to give me a couple minutes to figure out how I'm going to do it, I might end up with Trae.
Here's my
But
question.
to be completely honest, you cannot look me in my face and tell me it's not a question.
Here's my. This is my only. I'm not saying you're wrong, because once again, I've probably been the person that's been like the most down on Trae of this pod. But my question to you would be: before this season, was that a question for you?
No. I think
That's
they
an
were
issue.
closer than what people thought, but it was
Yeah.
still like I can eyeball that. It's Trae all the way.
Okay. Like I said, it was just more so. I'm just pointing out like how the perception of Trae has started to shift here. Like, before the season, I think all of us would have picked Trae to be an All-Star. Like,
Yeah. I probably would have had him in
we
mind.
all would have had him as an All-Star. This year, it was like,
Yeah, for
he
sure.
didn't make it, and nobody even mentioned he got snubbed. Like, that was crazy. Like, everybody said James
Everybody, I was about
Harden,
to say Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson. Like, nobody even mentioned Trae Young being snubbed from the All-Star game. Like, that's how much perception has shifted on him.
that's
So, like,
that's a good point.
it's interesting just to, once again, it's going to be, I'm not saying you're wrong in your prediction that he's going to get traded. Once again, I think a lot's going to come down how the last 20 some games play out and how the playoffs play out. And then it's just also going to come down to like, what can they realistically get for him? Like, especially if they're going to go forward with DeJounte Murray being the guy.
Yeah.
Like, because once again, I do think they could actually, if they trade away Trae for like really good pieces, they
think-
could have a good team.
I think you
next
might be
year.
able to sneak getting a guy back if you're
Exactly.
trading somebody who is the caliber of Trae Young. Now, I think that's part of the reason why we didn't see him get moved before the trade deadline, because you might have better options towards the end of the year in terms of
that's
maybe
fair.
sign and trade
I can
deals
also
that
say
might
it's the same
arrive.
thing with John Collins too, though.
Exactly.
Like, so it wouldn't shock me if like they moved John Collins in the offseason.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Still make Trae work, because he is, at the end of the day, he is the franchise guy.
A lot of
Like,
he should be hands down the best player on that team, but the fact that we're having this discussion is the fact that is the reason why he's up for trade.
like, I think the only way Trae definitively gets moved this summer is if Quin Snyder is like, after 20 games, is like, nah.
He's not
And-
it.
and-
He
He can't
From
be
what
a-
I've
he can't be
seen
a
of
guy.
Quin Snyder as a coach, he ain't gonna BS it if Trey's not there
No,
after
I
20
agree with you.
games. And right now, from what I've seen from Trae this entire year, I'll give him benefit of doubt. I say it's 60-40. He does what he's supposed to do for the rest of this year. But that's 40% chance of failure to me. And that's
really high.
That's really high in terms of failure.
Hey, I feel you.
Yeah, the Atlanta Hawks' next 5 games look like Brooklyn at home, Washington at home, Portland at home, and then 2 back-to-back Miami games away.
Okay, so they lose to Miami both of those times, and others are up in the air.
He's kind of teetering too, though.
You said Miami?
Miami's like literally 2 games above them in the
You said both of those were at home, though. Is it a home at home or both at Miami?
Both at Miami.
Yeah, I'm taking Miami on both of those.
Fair enough.
Both at Miami. So time will tell on that. That's the next 5. It's going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting finish to the season.
They're going to pull out 2 and 3 out of that 5. Maybe.
But we just mentioned Miami. So let's get into a little bit of conversations on the buyout. And Miami is at the top of that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Love signs with the Heat for the remainder of the year. Another thing I really wasn't really checking for. Had no clue Kevin Love was trying to get out of Cleveland that bad. And now he's a Miami Heat. I think he's been playing.
He played last night.
Yeah,
I think that was his first game last night. It wasn't a great game, but he was there.
So yeah. Miami Heat now have Kevin Love. I don't know what that means for Miami.
Nothing. It means absolutely nothing. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
I'm kind of off on Miami.
It means nothing. Miami hasn't been good all season.
I'm off on Miami now.
I'm never off of Miami because I do think they are one of the few teams that's like they have a legitimate playoff switch. Like they're going to be a different team in the playoffs simply due to coaching, Jimmy Butler. Like they know how to flip a different type of switch in the playoffs. With that being said, I'm off of them being like any type of contender. That ship has sailed. Kevin Love does not solve any of the questions that you may have. Granted, one of their big questions has been size all season. They've been particularly small. But like, I like Kevin Love as a player. I think there were a number of teams he could have gone to and had a much bigger impact with a smaller role. And to me, this was him looking to he wanted to be in a spot where it looks like he's going to start at the 4 for Miami.
He started last night.
He started last night.
He want to be on the court.
He wants to be on the court. He wants to play significant minutes, which I'm never going to fault anybody for that. I just don't think you can be successful with Kevin Love being your starting power forward in this NBA anymore.
Facts.
Like, that just it's not a recipe for success. So shout out to Kevin. Like I said, I'm glad he got his money. He's in the situation he wants to be in. But Miami, this does not affect who they are at all. Like, I don't see Kevin Love being on the floor for them in significant moments during the playoffs.
He shouldn't.
At all.
Jeez, he shouldn't.
Unless Bam's in foul trouble, which in that case you're already
you lost. I was about to say, if Bam ain't giving you 38 minutes in the playoffs,
you're already in trouble.
It's over, man. No, what you about to say? Go ahead.
I mean, this is no disrespect to Kevin Love at all. I wish he would have been able to get out of Cleveland as soon as Kyrie left. Like, as soon because I just saw the road it was gonna go down, and I was like, "Yo, you're gonna be stuck there." Just how Bosh had got stuck in Miami. Now, granted, injuries with the blood clots and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm glad that he's safe now. But that's just how it is. When you're the third, you're generally going to be the one who you're not going to be just able to walk away or demand your trade out of there or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm going to very least get my value back from you. Kevin Love, it was just unfortunate. You just got paid. Like, literally just got paid.
Cut the check and everyone
And then Kyrie's like, nope. And then Bron's like, out of here. And now you're stuck with the Cavaliers. So I'm excited for Kevin Love to be
at least somewhere where he wants to be.
Somewhere where he chooses to be. Now, outside of that, Kevin Love is not a starter in the NBA anymore. No disrespect to him, but if you want to
removed from that.
If you want to have Kevin Love give you quality minutes, you should go look up Andre Iguodala type roles and with the Warriors. And I'm not even talking 2016. I'm talking 18, 19. Like with the, you know what I mean? Pushing it. Maybe what the Grizzlies would have gotten.
Yeah.
If he had played with them instead of like just holding out. So Kevin Love, you playing 22 minutes, 4 shots, no points, all threes. Miami needs size, but I don't think giving Kevin Love 20 to 25 minutes a game is fixing your problem.
You know what I heard? I heard this, and I couldn't agree with it more. I don't remember who said it. They said Kevin Love signed to be the great value PJ Tucker for the Miami Heat. Like they're gonna.
That's not even. No, I don't even think that's.
Kevin Love can't hold up on.
Yeah, Kevin Love can't guard nobody.
Yeah, I was say on the
Tucker,
defensive side.
that's not great value. That's
what I thought. I said he can't. He's not playing defense like Peach.
the same thing.
Nah,
He's not playing defense like Peach.
I thought they were gonna try to give him like an old Bill Stojakovic role or something
bro,
like that.
They're throwing Kevin Love in the corner. They're gonna tell him to shoot. And on defense,
They said there were so many.
we pray don't get bad. And I'm not a fan. I think Miami. I'm off on Miami, man. I don't have any other way to say it. I like Tyler Hero. I like Bam. I like Jimmy. I just think that this collection isn't going to do it.
They reached their ceiling.
Isn't gonna do
They
it.
hit that ceiling.
It isn't going to do it. They got to figure it out. And for everyone who loves the Miami Heat front office for being aggressive, well, it's time to show y'all moves. It's time to show what y'all can do, Pat. Because this offseason, y'all can't walk back in the gym with this.
I ain't gonna hold you. This
You cannot
offseason,
walk back in the
you
gym
just
with
gotta
this.
move Duncan Robinson. Y'all gave
That's
him
it.
Nobody
Oh
wants.
no, not the only one. I'm just saying that's the contract I'm looking
naming
at.
names, but that is the contract.
Yeah, that's the contract I'm looking at. I'm like, before any of this can even get better, we have to admit that we overpaid him.
Yeah, y'all ain't put him on court no more.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they can't.
That's what I'm saying. So you have somebody you're paying this much money that you can't stick on the court because they're a liability if they're not giving you
This
five
is the first time
threes.
they did this too. If I recall,
Hassan Whiteside.
huh?
Hassan Whiteside.
Hassan Whiteside, Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson got paid. He
Miami
got
be
50
cutting
mil,
it.
didn't he?
Yeah, Miami be cutting the checks and changing people's lives, bro.
Yo, he got 50 mil, and I was just like, yo, what
Like,
Tyler
this
Johnson gonna
This
be
isn't the first time, man.
on the bench?
This isn't the first time.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, yeah, Miami. We'll see, but yeah, it's gonna be. You can talk whatever switch you want to talk about. Ain't nothing past second round.
Oh yeah, nah.
So-
I'm just saying. I think there'll be a tough out in the playoffs. Like they're
They're always gonna be on.
Like-
Even a gentleman's sweep is gonna be a headache against
exactly.
them.
They're just that team that just gives somebody a headache just because they want.
They're
to.
competitive.
Yeah.
they're
They're not
lay some
gonna
up.
roll over.
They're gonna lay some up.
So power to them, but yeah, they gotta make some moves this offseason.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy Butler's got to go. To be honest,
Yeah. Yeah.
like just go ahead and turn it over to Tyler.
Jimmy, force your way to Portland. I just want Dame to get some help. More some. I just want Dame to get everything he possibly can.
I was thinking the exact same thing. That Jimmy just needs to go to Portland with Dame.
Just go to Portland with Dame. Be some two real ones. Just
Yeah,
going out there and
just
getting it
going
out
out
the
there
mud.
hooping, yeah.
Go out there and get it out the mud.
That's so nasty.
I'm cool.
I mean,
You'd watch it.
I'd watch it.
Right.
I'll watch it.
you would love it.
I'd watch it.
We just don't like to talk about it or say it right now, but we're looking for a reason why it wouldn't work. But
Yeah, that'll be
we
fun.
just gonna need time to discuss that. I threw it out too early. I understand. I'm sorry, but yeah,
like
Jimmy to Portland, I would love that.
I like it.
Oh man. All right. The buyout continues with another move. And I'm so thankful this happened. I'm so thankful this
We
happened.
all saw it happening.
Because as soon as Leak said what he said, y'all. As soon as if
Cue the clip.
Cue the clip.
Y'all know I'm a shout out to you. I'm saying Lawrence Frank, head of basketball operations with LA, put a damn good team together.
For not getting Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, shout out to him for that too. Clippers this year are going to show that the
Don't say
term
it. Don't
point
say it.
guard, the term point guard though is dead. Based on our roster and based on the success we're going to have, we're going to show you don't need a point guard.
and let me guess, they're
I'm
not
so
a super
sick.
team.
They're a super team.
Right there. As soon as Leak said what he said, we all knew what was about to happen.
Man, I knew it was gonna happen before he walked into the crib. I was like, yeah. And for those who don't know, Russell Westbrook is a Clipper.
Yes.
Barely changed locker rooms. Got to stay in the same building, same city. Big love to Russ too. This is no
shade to Russ.
You always
this is
heard.
no shade to Russ.
I'm glad that he's on a team that he can contribute in terms of pushing for wins. I didn't want him to end up like having to play for Utah for the rest of the year, or worse, some other bum team like the Pistons or something like that. So I'm actually happy that he's able to get on the floor. But he's a Clipper now.
The funny part is, this man Malik came on this show and he was showing all of this love and praise to the front office of the
big
Clippers.
Clipper energy. Yeah, big Clip. We about to win the chip.
Super
this, that.
team.
Yeah, we're not a super team. We're a super team.
Like Terrence Mann, we don't need a real point guard. All this talk.
You almost sound like Kyrie talking about we don't need a coach.
Oh.
It was that much like
bravado. Like
they did make some great moves on the trade deadline. I will say that they made some B-, solid B type of moves.
I give him B+. Eric Gordon and Mason Plumlee is really good.
They
pickup.
really good because they needed a big. Like I really like the moves that they made on the trade deadline. I knew they were gonna sign Russ.
Yep.
He looked me in the face. He was like, "No, we didn't get rid of 2-point guards to sign Russ." I'm like, "Yes, y'all
exactly
did.
what y'all
that's
did.
that's exactly why y'all got rid of."
That sounds like Clipper logic to me.
Get rid of. Yeah.
Oh my
what?
God.
That's exactly why y'all moved him. Like we wouldn't get rid of Reggie Jackson just to bring in Russell Westbrook. Why not? It's a Pokemon evolution type of thing. Like if I got a Charmander, I'm gonna want a Charmeleon. If I got a Charmeleon,
Charizard,
Gotta
baby.
get that Charizard.
Gotta do it.
so
I got to see it.
big ups Reggie Jackson. And I think Reggie Jackson is an incredible pickup for the Denver Nuggets, but that's not buyout. Russell Westbrook, and now granted, he just had his first game with the Clippers last night. A historic game, second highest scoring game in the NBA history between Sacramento Kings, LA Clippers. We got 3 people scored 40. You got another person with 30. It's crazy. But we're talking about Russ.
Russ dropped 17, 5 boards, 14 assists.
Off of like 54% shooting too.
He did foul out.
7 turnovers too.
7 turnovers.
Yeah,
So he was Russ.
Yeah.
Russ.
Okay. Yeah.
He was Russ.
He was super
long
Russ.
As we know. Long as we know.
39 minutes of Russ.
That's Russell
2 for
Westbrook
2 from the free throw line. So you know that means he was taking mad jumpers.
1 for 4 from 3.
Yeah, this game went on forever, double overtime. I got a notification at like 2 a.m. last night.
Bruh.
Yeah, bro. Let's just get to it. Does this move the needle for the Clippers?
Russ being picked up or period? Like all of this.
Do you really want to
With the whole collection. With the whole collection.
Yeah, it moved the needle, but I don't think it moved it. Yeah, it moved the needle. It moved the needle.
Did it move the needle?
It moved the needle.
Can we look
Do you
at
really
them?
want me to answer that question?
I want you to answer the
It
question.
moved
man.
the needle backwards.
I knew he was gonna go that way. I knew he was gonna go that way.
My opinion on Russ isn't changing. I'm sorry. Last night was the proof of that. Like, I don't want my point guard with 7 turnovers. I'm sorry.
Hey man, that's a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio.
That's not good for a championship point guard, especially an inefficient scoring one.
What do you mean? He shot like 54%
Shot
last night.
53% from the field. Great. He was 1 for 4 from 3. Hey, all I'm going to say is Sacramento's one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Shout out to him. I love what Sacramento's doing, but hey, no.
I don't like this game because it goes away from everything that I thought the Clippers' identity was. Like, hard-nosed. I'm not saying they were one of the best defensive teams in the league, but if you ever told me somebody was just going to put up 176 points on a fully healthy Clipper squad, I would have told you were tripping at like 120. And mind you, that's kind of common nowadays in the NBA.
Yeah.
I just thought I don't want to use the word pride as if like they didn't try to win the game.
Oh, no, they were actually playing very hard.
It's kind of ridiculous when you're getting up to this. And I think it's play style that I'm saying that the Clippers are getting a little bit more away from. And you're going to have to when you add such a dynamic player like Russell Westbrook. First game, they're playing against a hot team in terms of the Kings. I'm cool with the loss. I don't like the way it happened. And I don't like the way it looked. It did show promise. I'm not going to say it moved the needle back, but you know when you like put like $6 in your gas tank, but like gas $4.15, that's what happened to the needle.
I'm weak.
That's exactly what happened. So it did move, I think, even with the addition of Russell Westbrook. But
So like and this is because this has been a thing that like people, Clipper fans, have like talked themselves into with this Russ addition. Is like, well, Russ is he's gonna give us more transition buckets. He's gonna pick up the pace. The Clippers are the 24th pace team in the league at like 97 possessions a game, right? Last night they were playing at like a 107 pace. Like, that's what Russ does bring you.
yeah,
Once again,
but that's not what the rest of the team is built for, in my opinion.
That's not what the team is built for. I will say, and this is what I will say in Russ's favor, this was, for him, the best spot to end up in.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you have a ton of shooting. You got bigs who will set good screens.
Yep.
Like, this is the tailor-made
Russ situation.
No facts.
I agree.
Can't get much better than this. So it's gonna be interesting to watch. Cause all I'm saying is, and I think Kawhi, he's definitely looking healthier and healthier by the day. He looks great. Banking on Kawhi shooting 72%. Ain't a formula of success.
Mind you, shooting 72%, you can't bank on that. They lost. So, like, yeah, if they won, I could see you pulling out that, like, oh, as long as he shoots 70%, but they can't even do that and win.
Like this game was like the game you would like point to and say, this is the game Russell Westbrook like fits in perfectly. Kawhi gets 40, Paul George get 30. We lost.
Yeah. I don't see how he could facilitate any kind of more Russ better. I'm not saying better because we're going to talk about things that he's not going to change.
I'm going to look in the camera and say this. I am not blaming Russ for the loss last night. Like, the loss is lost.
That's 176 points.
176 points.
Yeah.
He's
not accountable for 176 points.
That loss was not all on him by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just simply pointing out to, like, Russ does clash with what the Clippers' identity seems to have been. And they're going to have to adjust for him. And it's funny, like, leading up to that game last night, the talk all week was, Russ isn't going to start. They're going to work him in. He's not going to start. He might start later, but not right now. And then slowly but surely, and this is what we've seen every time Russ has gone somewhere, it's, oh, man, yeah, Russ is going to fit in, and we're going to make it work, and he's going to have to da-da-da. And then slowly but surely, you just start acquiescing to Russ more and more because
you can't do anything else.
Like, that's who he is. Like, that's what he needs to do to be successful. So it's going to be interesting to see if Russ can be successful and Clippers be successful at the same time.
It is going to be interesting. It's hard to not use this game as a litmus test because it's his first time on the floor with a brand new roster.
Facts.
And this is one of the seldom times. In terms of the Clippers, like, it's a whole lot of new bodies present.
Oh, yeah.
Mason Plumlee's present. Eric Gordon's present. Like, you're fitting in guys, and they're playing significant minutes. So you got 3 new guys out of, I would say, you're 9, maybe 10.
Yeah.
They were missing Zubac last night.
Yeah, like you got 3 new guys.
That's their 9-man rotation for the playoffs.
Yeah.
10, I'll say, with Zubac.
Plumlee's minutes will drop. I think Gordon's minutes will drop a little bit. And I think Terrence Mann played some more minutes later when we get deeper.
Hope so.
I just never understood why Robert Covington wasn't getting any burn this year. I don't know what happened because I didn't keep up with the Clippers for so long. I just know I woke up like 3 months ago and was like,
wasn't playing.
Why isn't he playing ace? And
I think it's a conundrum of just being a little too deep. I really believe that. Just being a little too deep where it's like, we have entirely too many guys.
And he might be the worst of the bunch now. Like, in all honesty, like
when it got him, I was really excited. But I can see what you're saying now.
Right.
But since he got there, honestly, I have not been able to see like
a significant contribution.
What his value could even be.
I feel you.
So that's why I want to hesitate in terms of saying, other guys are just better.
If there are any Clipper fans, let us know.
Somebody please. I tried to have this conversation with Leak and he didn't know. So that's why I'm really confused.
But you're playing with 3 new guys playing significant minutes. Russ, you just got that week essentially.
Yeah, just like no, he was already in the city.
Like, I mean, in terms of signing on, like you just got him that week pretty much.
Yeah.
And then you throw him in the starting lineup. Like he's on the court. You have to judge it for what it was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can only hold it so much. Yeah. The problem is, and this is to Brian's point.
Games.
The problem is, to Brian's point, he still did Russ things that we don't like.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't want to see that.
If he had a really bad game and he was trying new things, like he was attempting to actually
there was play off ball defense.
There was too many. You got 7 turnovers because you were attempting to run a different way or play a different way. That's one thing.
Too many consistent, like this pattern has shown up in previous jerseys of Russ. Like that's the thing where I'm like, dang. But all in all, I think people who say that Russ coming in, being able to add a level of pace to them, maybe speed up the game, I think that's helpful, especially when you got guys like Kawhi and PG who are so methodical is the best way to say it. Methodical about how they go about getting their buckets.
Yeah.
And it ain't bad about it because they good at it. I mean,
Oh yeah,
Great in a half court.
I ain't gonna knock if you getting 30. Like
Yeah.
really
what am I
good
supposed
at it. Really good at it. But when Kawhi sits down and PG sits down, all right, you still have shooters on the court with Russ.
How are you gonna play it?
How can you play it?
Yeah.
We couldn't. That was not the case with the Lakers. You know,
You didn't have shooters around.
Yeah, you
didn't have shooters around. Yeah,
But
and
you-
that's why I was like, I couldn't blame Russ 100%.
But you give him a Mason Plumlee or a Zubac, and then you give him Eric Gordon, Batum, Powell.
You got guys that can shoot that are not playing. Like
Marcus Morris. Like you get who's supposed to be a good shooter.
whatever
You
the
give guys
rotation is.
You give them these guys like, oh shoot, this might be okay. Can he hold down this fort better than he did the Lakers fort for a spell?
I would think so.
I would think so. And so I think that's where it is. Does it move the needle in terms of answering the question? No, because I'm gonna be honest. Phoenix exists, and we're gonna talk about Phoenix in a minute because Phoenix is have a lot of buyout talks about bringing in some vets for themselves. Denver is the number one team in the West, and they're the number one team in the West for a reason.
They are getting so underrated. It is crazy.
It's nasty. It's nasty.
Crazy.
It's nasty. That team is that team is good. Like I don't even know that team is good.
They're the best in the league right now to me.
Like, did y'all watch that Cavs game the other night? That first game?
I didn't
first
catch
game
that
back?
joint.
Yes, I did.
I didn't catch that one.
Yes, I did.
That game, if that game doesn't tell you, and granted, I'm not going to sit here and rehash the Jokic MVP debate, but like, if that game doesn't show you why Jokic isn't like firmly in the MVP debate, nothing does.
Well, I haven't
You don't want to see this.
I didn't watch that game, and I told y'all
point.
last week while I was specifically talking to Manny, if Jokic isn't, like, if he hasn't done enough to be number one as the MVP, who else in the league has? And your answer is nobody. Jokic is running away with this award. As close as you can with somebody like Embiid on your heels.
And Embiid too. He was my pick.
And I'm
hoping he wins to make me look good.
And what's crazy? I think they both played that same night. That was the same night.
And Embiid was having a horrible night at
No,
first.
his second half was crazy.
His second half
That's
was
the game
crazy.
I picked up on.
Second half was
Second
crazy.
half was nuts.
Second half was crazy. But like, it just goes to show like how great these two guys are. Like, so I can't like.
You don't have to dismiss the other one in order to say
like just say it's a hard vote. Just say it's a hard vote.
Hey, that's all you got to do.
Like I said, like if Embiid doesn't get it this year, it's not him being cheated or anything like that. If you're mad that Jokic got 3 MVPs in a row off of this, if he wins this third one, I would just say blame the voters for last year for not giving it to Embiid, because I think last year's race is a closer one than this year's race. And this one isn't like a super duper wide gap. I'm saying that hands down. Last year I was picking Embiid.
Hey, all I'm gonna say is I watched pieces of that game, of the Denver game versus Cleveland,
Cavaliers.
And then I watched the second half of Memphis and Philly. That second half of Memphis and Philly was hilarious because Memphis.
I was just about to say.
When are we gonna have a real conversation about Memphis?
I've been trying to. Haven't I been trying to low key diss Memphis for like 8 to 9 months?
I'll give it 3 minutes.
Let's finish up talking about. Let's finish up talking about.
I saw Ja in Vegas, and I've been dissing Memphis ever since.
Russell and the Clippers. Real quick.
So yeah, So in terms of Russ and the Clips, and to close out on this, I don't think this moves the needle because I think the West, in terms of the teams that are solidified at the top,
they're still above the Clippers.
They're still above the Clippers, and I think it's very evident.
That's fair.
Do I think they have a better shot versus a team like the Suns? Yes, I think they can I think they can beat the Suns.
Okay.
But I do not think they can beat Denver. I do not think they beat Denver at all. I do not see it. That's a 6-game series in my eyes.
That's fair.
And it's a handed 6-game series. I know people don't understand what that means, but my hoop fans know.
It means 4 games, Clippers are going to get blasted. The other 2, they're going to win
Kawhi's going to have like 50.
And they're probably going to be at home.
Like, so they're just going to go crazy. They're going to shoot like 70% from 3-1 game to just win it.
Basically, give me wins.
Yeah, so that's what I think about them. But do I think they're a second-round team? Yeah. Could they get to the conference finals?
Depends on the matchups.
Depends on the matchups.
Like I said, right now they're slated, and granted, this might change, may or not. But right now they would be slated to play Phoenix in the first round.
Ooh.
That's a heck of a series.
That's a heck of a series. That's a great first
if everybody's healthy.
That's a great first round. So yeah, that's that. All right, where were we?
Well, we spun off into the Denver's underrated chant, and then we were about to spin into the
Trash
Memphis.
in Memphis.
Trash Memphis. Okay,
And they deserve
Denver
it.
is dog. That's a good basketball team. Denver's a good basketball team. People need to recognize that. People need to recognize that while they are a good basketball team, they are a great basketball team because of Nikola Jokic's presence. I've been trying to have this conversation with so many people who just don't understand that this guy who jumps, but you can't slide toilet paper under his feet
All right,
when he
Stephen
jumps.
A.
Huh?
All right, Stephen A.
He said that before?
He says that all the time.
I've never heard him say that.
I always say textbooks, but
I've never heard him say that. But if he said that, I retract it. I did not know that's what he's saying.
you can borrow textbooks if you like.
Magazine, if you want.
But
I'm weak.
like the
Loose
fact
leaf.
that we can't see him leave his feet for the majority of the time in terms of his physicality or his athleticism rather is dominating teams on the offensive end. And as a unit, they hold up on the defensive end pretty well. You got guys like Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. is playing better defense. Bruce Brown. They went and got Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown got a whole new gig, and he learned to shoot threes.
Yeah.
I told you, I said that.
I ain't gonna say he learned. He was knocking down threes for KD in that Celtics series. I don't want to hear that.
I didn't know because they kept putting him on the
I was saying
on the
he
mid
playing like
post.
point center,
They had him
point
in the mid
with the
post.
Nets.
feel
You
you.
didn't see it.
We didn't see it. That's all I'm gonna
I'm
say.
just talking about in that Celtics series. He was knocking Jenks down in that
Oh,
Celtics
yeah, in that
series.
Celtics
And
series,
that's when I started looking at him a little differently. I was like, you can shoot.
No, I saw
too?
that and I was like, oh, you're gonna go the Jonathan Simmons route and get paid after this, huh? That's exactly what I saw.
Shout out Jonathan Simmons.
Yeah, that's a good call.
No, facts. I don't know what he's doing, but he got paid.
Shout out to him, man. But yeah, like I think
Bruce
people,
Brown shot 40% from three last year, y'all.
How many shoot a game?
Like 1.8 of them.
0.7?
If that 1.3.
1.3.
I'm just saying, the evidence was starting to show, is all I'm saying. But yes, to your point, that Denver team is really good.
It's really good. It fits Jokic well, but this team only goes as far as he can take them, and that's if he's not here, this is very similar to a Golden State Steph Curry situation, whereas this whole thing looks like trash.
Pretty much.
This whole thing, I love Jamal Murray. I think Jamal Murray's going to elevate in the playoffs, and he's going to be a great second, number two, in those moments when he's needed to be and score some and hit some shots. But do not make a mistake about this.
No, to your point, I love
not
that
make a
point,
mistake.
too. I love that point. Like Steph Curry, Jokic, it's a lot of guys who are the system. Tim Duncan, who
Like
are the system.
They're so unique with their
he
skill
is
set
so-
that it is irreplaceable.
It's like we can say, oh, Greg Pop. We could say, oh, Steve Kerr came in and changed this and that. Or you could say, Jokic and Mike, whatever you want to say or whatever you want to connect it starts with the player.
That superstar talent.
That superstar player, that system, that coach or whatever. You can't find success in anything that you're trying to do without that particular player. Now, did the system help the player? Sure, that's how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you're supposed to bring in Steve Kerr, bring in a system, and now all of a sudden, Steph Curry is, in my opinion, the best point guard ever. At least top three, but easily, like no discussion on the top three thing.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan already going to be slated to be one of the great next bigs coming into the league. Now you're going to put him together with a David Robinson and a Popovich, and you're going to create this system. And now he carries that 20 years.
Yeah.
And then you can't replace or can't have that system running when they retire or when they are out of their prime. So
we have to draw a whole new game plan.
An entirely
A whole new
game plan.
You got to adapt.
And that system might even be able to work for 10, 20 games when that star player isn't there because their presence is still felt at times. 20 games is a stretch. But like 10 games, you might end up 7-10 just off of momentum, off the style of play. But a season, no. They're going to be struggling and fighting for play-in spots if they don't have Jokic on this team.
They don't have Curry.
So it's no disrespect to the rest of the guys. It's just more so, or even disrespect to the coach, the system, the organization, the franchise. It starts with your star player at every single last sport, period.
Yeah.
Especially in basketball, though. Every single last team, it starts with your star player.
And so the presence of Jokic plus the contributions between Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., of course, those are your big three in terms of who between that 2-3 spot in terms of contribution on the offensive end.
Yeah.
Then you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. You have Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. They went and got Reggie Jackson.
Jeff.
I like
Big
the
pickup for Reggie Jackson.
Thomas Bryant pickup.
Oh, yeah, Thomas Bryant
like
was
Thomas
hooping.
Bryant. Like,
I would
as
have
a
liked.
spell guy, I don't hate that.
I don't hate it. I would have liked a different type of big.
It's only but so many bigs out
Give
there.
me the type. Give me the type.
I think they need it because once again, Jokic isn't.
You want an athletic rim protector.
Respectfully, you do not want DeAndre Jordan.
I wanted a rim protector.
Yeah, you wanted.
They thought it was DeAndre Jordan. I don't know why. He's been washed for 4 years.
Yeah. You would have loved if they were able to get like a JaVale McGee.
Exactly.
I know exactly the type of because that's what I thought.
You just need a different type. Thomas Bryant is a good player. Like I said, I love what he did for the Lakers. He's not a rim protector. He's actually a really bad rim protector. So I just would have liked to have seen them pick up an athletic rim protector. But once again, Thomas Bryant is not. I don't hate the pickup.
But granted, we ain't know Mo was out there for so low. Like,
Facts.
we talked about the Sabonis trade a couple pods ago, and Greg and I biggest hiccup on that is you didn't do a due diligence shopping that player.
Yeah.
That's how I felt with the Mo Bamba situation. And granted, I ain't say nothing because it worked out in my favor. But when I found out that the Lakers got Mo for what they got him for, man, like I can only imagine if Denver knew Mo Bamba was up for that low.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if they would have made the move for him, but I agree with you, B. That's the big that I wanted to see. That's the perfect like scenario big.
Yeah.
It's just not a lot of guys out there on the market.
And that's fair. Once again, I think they made a move that they knew they'd be comfortable with, and they kind of went with it. But like even to your point, like Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, like even guys that I'll be quite honest, I didn't even know about until this season. So I started watching Denver. Like Vlatko, I don't even know how you say his name.
Still don't know how.
Vlatko Konkar, I'm gonna say. If I mispronounce that, y'all gonna tell me I butchered it. Christian Braun, like these.
That boy was
dudes,
in Kansas, right? That's Kansas.
I believe
boy.
so.
I liked him.
Like,
he was nice.
But once again, these are guys that like.
You didn't expect to make contributions?
Once again, it gives very much Spurs Warriors vibes, where it's just like, this dude isn't somebody that's supposed to be good. This isn't Patrick McCaw. Like what? Whoa, man!
Jonathan Simmons.
Jonathan Simmons.
I'm not going to kick it. I saw Christian Brown in Kansas. I'm like, he can play in the NBA.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying not playing the NBA. I'm simply saying like these are guys. You put them on really good teams, and they look way better than they like. Jonathan Simmons is the prime example of that. Okay. Boris Diaw was another guy who was a little bit better, but he was kind of like that. It was like you put him on a championship team, and it's like, whoa. You put him on a bad team, and it's like, you're just out here.
I see what you mean.
Like, so they have these guys. They have a team that is meshed so well together. And once again, I am on the point of right now. I'll be quite honest because I don't think Golden State's making a run. I think Golden State is.
Flatlining.
I think they're flatlining. That's a whole different story. If the Lakers aren't going to make a run at the title, I want Denver to win. I'm not going to lie. Because I'm over the Denver disrespect. I'll be quite honest.
I think that's my pick to get to the finals this year.
Like,
at this point.
Because I'm sick of hearing this Jokic talk. I'm sick of hearing how Denver's overrated. Like, the one thing I'm really getting sick of with this Jokic talk is like, if Jokic doesn't win the title this year, everything he's done before has been like overrated and it's blown out of proportion. When it's like, people are, whoa, Michael Jordan got 3 MVPs. I'm like, well, who's the Scottie Pippen for Nikola Jokic right now then? If you're going to tell me Jamal Murray.
He got hurt. He just came back off of his knee.
Exactly.
And Michael Porter was coming back off of his back. And Aaron Gordon got there at the last, like in terms of his role and position, that just blew up this year because of injuries.
And once again, granted, all of this is liable to change depending on how Jamal Murray progresses going forward. But if you were to rank all those other number 2s in comparison to Jamal Murray, where does Jamal Murray fall? Let's rank them. You got Scottie Pippen, Kyrie, Magic Johnson, Kareem as number 2s,
Anthony
Kevin
Davis,
McHale,
Dwayne Wade,
Anthony Davis, Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving, Pau Gasol. Like, where would Jamal Murray fall on that ranking?
He's still last. I don't know how many people we listed.
I don't know
who's last
who's
the
number 2 on that Dirk mob.
On that Dirk mob?
Okay, he's not a 3-time MVP.
Fair.
Oh, he's not a 3-time MVP.
I'm talking about guys.
Just 3-time MVP.
Oh, you talking about guys with that caliber?
That's what people keep saying. Like Jokic is overrated because he's gonna have an award that's gonna put him alongside guys like Kareem and Will.
I was mentioning guys that weren't 3 times MVP, just up there. Yeah.
But once again, I'm just saying, like those guys who reached that level, you talking about, well, they won titles.
Yeah, the LeBrons,
they
Jordans,
won titles because they got a Scottie Pippen.
They had a guy who could arguably fight for an MVP by themselves.
Yeah. Like, so,
I'll be honest. Like, even I would like to see the Nuggets win. I don't think the Nuggets, like, I think they'll get to the finals. I believe they'll get to the finals because after looking at everybody else, the only real threat they could see is the Suns based off matchup.
You have a lot of
and health.
Suns.
I have a lot of faith in KD.
I was about to say.
I have a lot of faith in KD.
After that series last year.
I have a lot of faith in KD.
Okay.
Name another series like that from KD.
Like I'm sorry.
2016 versus the Warriors. 2014 versus Memphis.
We went 2022.
He went to the Warriors.
We went 2022.
He went to
and
the
then we went
Warriors.
all the way back to 2014.
He went to the
And then
Warriors.
He lost against. I'm just saying.
He went
look,
to the
I'm
Warriors.
just saying.
The one team he
That's
couldn't.
not the
No team could load up
conversation
against them on.
But,
That's not the
What about the
conversation
year
today.
before when he lost against the Bucks?
That was great. We
But
all
that's
sat.
not the
We all
point,
sat here
man.
and said
We're gonna sit here.
we
No,
all sat
because
here
this is
and
the
said
second time
Bucks'
you did this. This
defensive
is the second
game
time you
plan
did that.
was
Yes.
horrible.
Well,
Did
you're
we
gonna
not all sit there and
call
say
out.
that?
We're gonna
Did
call
we
out
not sit here
bad
and say that?
playoff series.
Did
I
we
said
not
he
sit
was
here and say that?
horrible.
Okay, then so what are we
But
talking
you
about?
said no.
I
The
said
statement
a
that
team
you
that
said
could
was you
load
have a
up
lot of
on
faith
them.
in KD.
Did the Bucks load up
And
on
then
them?
you said,
Did the
and then
Bucks
he
load
said,
up on
yeah,
them?
of course, it's KD.
Did the Bucks load
and
up
then
on
you
them?
said, oh, bad playoff series. I'm just saying you like to throw out bad play or recent playoff series as if they're happening all the time with these players,
I'm
and they're
saying
not.
there's a pat-
He can trust in the
You like to-
KD
you literally sat here
because
and said
KD
patterns.
does well in the playoffs and well in general. That's all I'm saying.
And all I said is there's a pattern of when KD gets loaded up on teams, shade to his side, more
I
physical.
disagree, and I'm gonna continue to
He's
disagree.
been bad. Like
I
he's had bad
disagree.
series. That's when he looks bad.
I disagree with that.
I have a lot of faith in KD. You gave KD.
Respectful.
You gave KD a point guard who's smart, who understands what to do. You
Very
gave
much
him a Devin Booker. Like I'm not even gonna call Devin Booker a number 2. That's a Devin Booker. And then you gave him a DeAndre Ayton, a quality big. All right. Now, do they need to go and fill in some of those roles? We talked about the buyout in terms of who they could bring in, like maybe a backup point guard like Derrick Rose, maybe another wing. I heard rumblings of Carmelo Anthony. I don't think that's real, but whatever. You can bring in some veteran guys to help fill out this role for a playoff run. Cool. Matchup wise, they could give certain teams a headache. And if it comes down to a close game, KD needing to hit some buckets, I can trust him. I could trust him to show up.
That's fair.
I can trust him to show up. That's that on that. In terms of the whole thing, though, it's the Nuggets getting to the finals. Cool. I can see that. That should be the odds, right?
yeah.
Should be
The odds. If they saw Boston, I'm concerned.
Boston should get it.
That's a tough matchup.
If they saw Boston, I'm concerned. I think they got a better shot versus Milwaukee.
I do too.
I agree.
But even that,
Even though
it's not a guarantee in my eyes. Like if you told me who's winning the series between Milwaukee and Denver, I will say it's a toss up.
yeah, I would have to think about that.
I think those are going. I think both those.
I gotta see if
that
Milwaukee's
Boston series
healthy.
might go 6. That Milwaukee series is going 7.
Once again, it's so interesting just think about how the Nuggets match up because they play a style of basketball that nobody else in
It's
the
so
league
unique.
really plays.
It's so unique.
So it's hard to really. I don't know. I have to think about that, especially that Milwaukee series. Boston, I would probably lean towards. They just have enough wings. They can switch a lot. But that Milwaukee series, I would have to think about.
I just need to see Milwaukee healthy. If they're not healthy, I'm giving it to Denver.
That's facts.
Like if there's no Chris
Yeah,
They're not
Middleton
healthy.
level,
If they're not
second,
healthy, they're not making it.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean fully healthy. I don't want 80% Chris Middleton out there.
I want 80% Giannis. Giannis,
Yeah.
hand still hurt.
But I think he'll be. I think he'll be
But-
fine by the playoffs.
The way they talked about it was like it was.
He tried
We're
to
not
play
used to
last night.
seeing
Yeah,
Giannis
6
really
minutes.
injured though.
Yeah.
We're not just used to seeing him actually not be able to play because of injury.
Sure.
He's generally a pretty tough dude
And that's concerning.
and fortunate. I'm not saying you're not tough because you get hurt.
All right, y'all wanted to do this. Let's do this. Memphis Grizzlies, America. I'll be the first one to say it. I was wrong. I said the Memphis Grizzlies have an energy that would suggest they could be a dynasty. They could be something really, really special based upon how they carry themselves. The way they carry themselves is not what I thought. You know how you get those candies that look like the gold dollars?
I'm weak.
It's like $1.
Oh, you talking about the circular coin joints?
coin
Yeah,
joints?
you said gold dollar. You got to say dollar coin.
Dollar coin.
I was like, you just out here.
you get the junk, but then you realize, oh, that's not money. That's actually chocolate inside.
That's how you feel about. Feel like they counterfeit.
How many times have you been tricked by chocolate dollars?
Have you ever tried to spend it?
I've never tried to spend it, but dang, like I wished it was like when you hand it to you, like you wish it was the money and not just chocolate, because That's just one bite, bro.
Okay.
Call me fat.
I'm weird.
But Memphis don't got it, bro. They don't got it, and they
Don't
keep
got what? I would specify here.
discipline.
Real money. Oh, yeah. I was saying it metaphorically, but that's why I said it with my chest.
They not real money, bro. It's there's no discipline there, man. It's no discipline there, and the evidence showed itself in a game they were up by, I believe, 15.
Yeah, they were up double digits.
Somebody against Philly?
Against Philly.
Yeah,
It was
against
about
Philly.
15.
It was up. I may have been more than that, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I don't know if it touched 20 though.
I don't think it touched 20.
I'm about to
I
find
don't think
out.
it touched 20, but they were up by 15. I know 11 at some point in the third, and I kept telling myself, I said, they're going to lose this game. They're going to lose this game. And it's strictly off the fact that they just were undisciplined on the defensive end the entire time. In a game where you have an Embiid struggling in the first half, and it wasn't because Embiid wasn't Embiid, he just missing shots.
Yeah.
He
He was aggressive. He just was
He
missing.
was missing shots. And I was watching the halftime show. Kenny and them were talking about the shots he was taking. They didn't like the shots. I said, I love the shots he's taking. They clean looks. You talking about 15 footers for Embiid? One hand.
He just
in your
wasn't.
face?
He just from. I can't say that from range. Like even from like 15 feet out, he wasn't necessarily hitting that night. So after like the third, fourth, and you're 7-1, they're gonna ask you turn your back to the basket and get down low. So
That's just Shaq for you.
yeah,
Go eat, big fella.
I
exactly.
think Shaq was
But
there that-
from what I
but
saw,
yeah.
I agree with you. Like Joel Embiid is more than capable of hitting the shots.
I
he was
love the
taking.
shots he was taking. They just weren't falling.
They weren't falling.
They just weren't hitting. He came back out second half and flipped a switch. I was
Yep.
like, this is for all those people who say Embiid is on the MVP track. That was the MVP kind of switch he made. He came back the second half and he went to work. And not only on the offensive end, my man came back on the defensive end. I think he finished 6 blocks.
Yeah.
Like he took that game over. And Memphis, for whatever reason, did not adjust. Maybe the coach told them to adjust. They didn't follow the plan. And I don't know who is guarding that corner with Tobias Harris. But they weren't being...
They weren't.
They weren't.
You said it. They weren't.
Like,
They
it
weren't.
was so bad, bro. I was like, can we please get a hand over there?
Nope.
Because he was just stranded
Lining
in
them
that
up.
corner
He had
the
4 of
whole
them.
time, bro. I was like, this is so bad. And so this is just, that game was just evidence of what I think a lot of people have been saying that I just were like, yeah, they're young. And
they are
They
still.
are young. They are young. But that's the same reason why.
I've been saying get them a quality vet for how many?
But that's the same reason why I don't even think it's quality. I think there's a culture situation that's kind of brewing that hasn't really showed itself yet.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you guys talk though.
Dylan Brooks have been getting the longest leash of being able to, I don't know, puff his chest as if he's accomplished something. Memphis, period, have been able to just rah-rah. And it's cool because they were a young team, and that's what we see younger teams and younger styles go to in every generation. The younger generations generally always going to look more rambunctious or disrespectful or rude or arrogant, abrasive, whatever terms you might find in your vocabulary. That's how always the younger teams are going to look. That's why I said bring in vets. You're talking about culture. I think that will help change the culture to 29, 30, 31-year-old vets that can actually contribute for 25 minutes a game or something like that on any given night. I think that helped change the culture. But to your point, I don't know how to fix this in terms of culture. I can only suggest. I don't know what's going to actually work because the man of the hour, the guy, him, John Morant, I think is spearheading that culture. And it's not anything that I think he's necessarily standing up proud of, like, yeah, I'm telling my guys to go out there and wild out. But there's accountability.
That he's not taking charge of.
I was about to say
Like, he's
accountability by leadership.
Yeah.
And you're the franchise player. I get it. You're 22, 23. You're young. Yeah. So 23 now? Yeah, thank God. All right. Whew. I was feeling a little too old. You're 23 now. At a certain point, it is going to be up to you to carry yourself in a certain way. And I'm not saying he's doing an abysmal job. I'm not saying he's doing a worse job than like somebody like Trae Young, for example. But if we're going to talk about culture, or we're talking about changing it, it has to start. We're either going to look at the front office or we're going to look at the franchise player. And I think that's why I said bringing in quality vets is me looking at the front office. Because there's only so much I could put on a 23-year-old to change the culture. You're not LeBron James. Like, I think that was the one person I ever saw at that age, like that young, say like, no, he could put the entire organization on his back and more in terms of culture.
Yeah.
Culture is something that's established as a unit, as an environment, as a community. So Grizzlies don't have a clear, good set of rules, regulations of how to carry themselves or how they're going to move. They just move like a really, 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 really good AAU team, which is really exciting to watch, but I don't think it translates to winning in a sport where you're going to have a little bit more of a level of focus and commitment to whatever is going on around you. And I'm not saying they don't have that. I'm saying it looks like
I'm curious.
they're not committed to having that.
They don't have it.
I'm curious.
I just didn't want to be the one that
go ahead.
Two things that I feel like happened here. First off, we've talked about Memphis before. I've always been kind of down on Memphis, I guess, more so because I think these are kind of things I predicted would happen sooner. I've been wrong, so I may be wrong here again. With that being said, you see regular season teams like Memphis all the time who have a ton of energy. It's young guys. They play really hard in the regular season, and they kind of just roll through people for the most part. Because if we're quite honest, veterans do not
everybody
take
will get up for every game.
the regular season seriously all the time.
Yep.
The problem with what Memphis has done, and this is what a lot of people tried to warn them about last year, was, okay, you stuck your chest out, you put your chin in the air.
Now you target.
And now you put a target on your back. So now,
people get
every game,
oh,
let's teach the young boys a lesson.
Y'all wanted to say what? All right.
And once again, they started this year off really good.
Really well.
They started off really well. And then
he said it.
I'm fine in the West.
I'm fine in the West.
Fine in the West.
You also had the Shannon Sharp incident.
Yep.
Like, it's been incident after incident with Memphis
Y'all
now.
almost forgot Shannon was about to fade the whole team on the sideline. Dolo.
And think about how that started. That started with Dylan Brooks talking to LeBron James. And granted, Lakers were bad at that point in time.
But it's still a certain way you carry yourself. You don't speak to that man like that, like he hasn't done everything that you
want to
possibly
do.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just sometimes it's like, even if you're up, I think that's what it was. They were up. You didn't start this at the very beginning of the game. I think most athletes and most competitive, we're all fine with that.
I'll give Ja his credit. Ja came into the league on this.
Bro,
this is
tip-off,
I
draft
give Ja
night.
his credit.
Yeah.
This is what he came into the league with. So I kind of respect the energy that they carried themselves with, but the problem is you not recognizing the shift that's happening because of it.
Right.
When you can't look around and go, hey guys, like we've now, once again, you hear it all the time, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. They have crossed the line now. You are now arrogant. You are no longer confident.
Thoroughly.
And to your point, there's no veteran in the locker room that can look around and say, hey guys, we have
Nobody who
teetered too
been
far
there,
to the
done
right.
that. Nobody.
Like, we have to bounce back. We got to get back to doing what we do, being disciplined, running our stuff. Like, and the summation of all that was the end of that 76ers game.
Yep.
After they lost, or they were going to lose, and Dylan Brooks tried to start another fight.
Yeah, another one.
It was just like, dude. Like,
This one was really even more useless than a lot. Like,
it was just like, why? Like, this ain't even a tough guy moment now. Like, you're just mad you
you're hurt. I
lost.
was gonna say,
Like,
you're hurt.
you're
That's
taking
what
the
that
L
was.
tonight. Just hold it. Like,
The game itself, like, and you said something about the playoffs, and like I said, I try to judge games properly. I try to, contextualize every game properly. This game felt like a playoff game for me, especially the second half, because like you said, Philly came back out and they met the energy of Memphis. They met it. They said, all right, if we're going to go, let's go. And sure enough, they come out and they really put it to them. I mean, in every aspect, defensively, rebounding, they ran a crazy set. I was like, oh, shoot, Doc, that's a good call. Like, I loved it.
Wow. That has
Not impressed
not
that he
been
made a
said on
good
this
call.
pod in years.
Like, that was a great play call. I was like, that was clean. I think it was right off a timeout, too. Like,
Probably.
It was nice. I was like, oh, shoot, we got ourselves a basketball
Doc
game.
made 2 adjustments in one game.
We got-
out of halftime, he made an adjustment.
Bro, we got ourselves a game. And so the game shifted. I saw the shift. I'm on the phone with my pops. My pops was like, Memphis about to lose. I said, yeah. and I'm watching. I said, there you go. Corner 3 again.
Tobias.
What proved my point, going back to what you said, an AAU team not being disciplined. 13 seconds left. They called the play. Desmond Bane gets a clean look.
Yeah.
Shoots it. Misses. Cool. I can live with that. Did he shoot another one? Or did it get...
I remember.
No, yeah, I think he shot another one.
Yeah.
The ball then ricochets to the corner. Jaren Jackson gets it. I believe it's 7 seconds left on the clock. 7.5 seconds left on the clock. If I'm getting this a little bit wrong, I know it's a loose ball. Jaren Jackson gets it in the corner. Jaren Jackson, with 7.5 seconds left on the clock and the ball in his hands, forgets he has a timeout and shoots a prayer from the corner.
I'm putting it up.
I'm like, bro, we can
This
run a
my
whole
team.
new play.
He said he ain't defensive player of the year. He got to get the offense
That ain't
too.
the shot you take.
Like we can get a whole nother one up. We get a better, cleaner look up. Take it out from the timeout again because it wasn't like the set was bad. Desmond Bane got a clean look.
No, that's facts.
That's just awareness.
Try another one.
I'm joking, but that's a horrible thing to do. Yeah, like
and I saw that. I was like, there it is. That's Memphis. That's what Memphis is going to do in the playoffs. Yeah. Like that is what Memphis is going to do in the playoffs.
Lack of awareness.
Because this was a playoff moment. They didn't meet it, and people kept pointing to John Morant didn't move. John Morant didn't move. I understand John Morant didn't move. He took the ball out. He passed it in. What I mean, he could have went and got it.
I'm rewatching it. This Jaren Jackson shot was wild.
Why? How much time was left on that clock?
12 seconds on the clock.
12 when he shot it?
He caught it with like 13. He shot at it with like 12.
Dog.
Yeah, JJ. Triple J.
Come on, bro.
That's what we doing.
You have another timeout.
That man said I
matter,
felt disrespected at the All-Star game.
You have another one,
I got picked
bro.
last. Let me get some game winners
Come on,
in.
man.
Let me build up my resume.
That was
They ain't
so
gonna pick
bad,
me last
bro.
no more.
I saw that shot. I said,
He was like, they said, you need defense in the All-Star game, and that's why I'm here. Nah, he got a bag.
like,
It just ain't filled with nothing, but he got a bag.
that shot was so bad. I was like, dag, bro. No one told him, hey, we get another look. Hey, we got a timeout to you. We got one to burn. We got one to burn to get a better look.
You know why?
There's no way.
I don't think. You know what? Nah, that's just bad. Period. That should have been some kind of conversation.
Coach should have called the timeout at that point.
Yeah, if somebody should.
But then again, I ain't even gonna lie.
Actually, from 12 to like 10, you said 13 to 12.
I ain't even gonna lie.
He probably didn't even think, nah, Jaren ain't about to shoot this.
No, he did.
I don't know.
Hey, when I saw him touch, I said, he's shooting like he shot this. He really shot that.
No, because now I remember what you're talking about, but I don't think I realized the time on the clock.
Brian just reminded me. I said 8 seconds. It was 13 seconds left on the clock when he touched it.
Bro.
So that means that went on the
They took it out with 23.
Took it out with 23.
Desmond got the first shot up at 21. He got the reload at 17, and Jaren Jackson's flying in from the corner here.
Dog.
Yeah.
13.7 on the clock when it touches his hand.
That's
jam.
not cool, bro.
Facts.
That's
Peace jam for
that's
sure.
not attention to detail. That's not discipline. That's you taking the game lightly.
That's you go back into the locker room and everybody should cuss you out.
Like,
now, granted,
Now, it's
I
not-
meant like the coaching staff and people like that.
And here's the
there's
thing.
a lot of things that other players on that team couldn't say during that game that I saw. So
right. But here's the thing. In this game, they won't because it's just an interconference game versus Philly. Cool.
I see where you're going with this.
Cool.
I think they do, though.
But when it's time for a playoff series and you match up against a Golden State,
But this is
team
where
or
you fix it
whoever,
now, yeah.
And
But I'm going to tell you, I think you're wrong on that because Memphis has been so bad lately. Like, they're 5-10 in their last 15.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have a net rating that literally will put them at like 21 right now. Like, they are on a bad stretch. So these moments, and like I said, we're all athletes. Like, you've been on a team where even when things were going, momentum is everything in sports. When things are going good, it feels like it piles.
Way better teams just off of momentum. Just going in there with the
But
right
when
flow.
things start going bad,
Can't throw a rock in the ocean.
like things just continuously keep going wrong.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things to pull a team out of, especially when they start to realize maybe it's us. Because there's always that first phase of, oh no, we just had a bad game. It's all good. We'll be okay. Then there's the next phase of, oh man, like I said, maybe the refs didn't do us right. Man, something happened. They just were on fire that night, whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe it's
But then that third phase hit of maybe we're the problem. And once that sinks in, if there isn't a strong coach, a strong voice, something in that locker room that can snap people out of it, it will weigh down a season quickly.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna hold you. They don't have the greatest of or the easiest of lineups going up out of like the next like 8 games. We got Denver, Lakers, Houston. That's a gimme. Denver, Clippers, Lakers, Warriors, Dallas. Then back to man. But in terms of the next 8 to 9 games, I could very well see them dropping.
We could see them right now. They're the 2. They're a game and a half up on Sacramento. We could legitimately in 2 weeks look, and Memphis is the 5 seed.
No, that's not even over exaggerating it. From what I just called out from right now.
And that sounds crazy because they're like 4 games up on the Clippers right now. But you play the Clippers, so that's a game right there.
Yeah,
if you
say
lose
that's
that,
boom, boom.
that's a boom game right there. All right, now it's a 3-game lead. Clippers, granted, I'm not saying they about to go on a crazy run with Russ, but like so much can change in this Western Conference so quickly. Memphis has to right the ship soon, or they're going to look up and be a 6 seed or a 5 seed. And at that point, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Because now you're matching up with either Phoenix, the Clippers, or Denver.
Yeah.
Got to get it together.
And all I'm saying is, with any one of those teams, you can take Phoenix, coached by Monty Williams and spearheaded by Chris Paul. You can take Mike Malone and Nikola Jokic. You can take Luka. You could take Ty Lue. I mean,
Ty Lue and Kawhi, yeah. Ty Lue and Kawhi,
Luka and Kidd with Kyrie. Like you could do not go in there on those AAU vibes
They're gonna eat
versus
you
those
alive.
type of vets. It's going to be a long night. It's going to be a long series,
man.
It's going to be a long series.
Oh.
And that's my concern.
Everybody we
is-
just named too, it's not like we just named somebody who's up 20 games on anybody or somebody who's back 20 games on anybody. These are all the people they're going to be seen.
They got
like the West is
They
really
gotta
tight
see 'em.
to your point. So everybody now, and maybe hopefully it got through the Grizzlies' head that everybody in the West is in playoff mode now. Like, I don't care what your record is. I don't care how safe you think you are sitting at the 2 seed.
You have to be.
Everybody is sitting there in playoff mode. Win now. I know the Lakers are.
They don't have a choice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know what's about to really happen over these next 8 to 10 games for the Grizzlies, but I think their true colors are really going to show, and I think they're going to be below 500 in those next 10 games.
I mean, they're only 17 and 16 in the conference. So,
And that's been, I'm fine in the West.
I'm
fine in the West.
Like, those statements.
Right. KD ain't laced them up for the Suns yet. KD ain't laced them up for the Suns.
Once
yet.
again, there are very few people who can say those statements and you don't roll your eyes.
Yeah, very few. I think there should be max 5 in the league at a time. Max.
And
That's
the people
max.
and the people we want to say it don't say it.
They don't be
They don't
saying
say
it. They don't.
Like,
I would have loved for Steph Curry.
Like,
I never heard Kobe say. I've never heard Bron say.
I think it was
And
a matter
the worst Bron's ever gotten to was not
5, 6,
1,
7,
2,
yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the one we all looked at him like, hey, bro,
Yo, you
you
better
better go get it done.
right. But he ain't want to
And
talk.
he learned his lesson since then.
never guarantee the chip after that.
My man was walking through the Eastern Conference for how 8 years in a
10
row?
years.
A
10
decade, a strong decade. And he ain't never say I'm
never
fine
said,
in
I'm
these.
I'm fine
He
in
ain't
these.
never say
He
I'm
said,
fine in
hey,
these.
we need a new roster.
Because I think it was more so, I think that's why we hated that comment by Ja. It was disrespectful.
It was.
It was like, I'm fine in the West would suggest
It
that
was.
you've done something in the West. Like, Curry has never said that. KD has been in the West and never said that. Like, there's so many people that could have, Dame could have said it before you, Ja.
Luka.
Somebody. Anybody. But you talking about the guy who, what you got for your best in your career? A second round appearance?
Yeah.
Now, granted,
And great. You got hurt last year.
you
I'll
got
give
hurt,
you that one.
and I don't want to disrespect it because who knows what would have happened. I do,
but
but that's all I'm saying is I can't bet on you, and you made a betting statement.
sorry.
The hell kind of sentence is that? I'm fine in the West, and you're not. You weren't even fine when you said it.
Like I said, they have said a number of statements in the past that have just, you can just tell has been bulletin board material.
I was about to say, like, is it just like for captions?
Even last year they said, because once again, because they've had the whole rivalry with Golden State.
Yeah.
And like last year, like they made, I think it was Jaren Jackson who made the statement after they beat the Warriors without Steph, without Clay, and without like Looney, and they were like, oh yeah, strength in numbers. Like,
We want all the smoke. We run up the chimney
Like,
and all of that.
what?
It sounds real good before we realize you're arrogant.
But but then once again, it always comes back to bite them because it's like you say that statement when you beat them without Steph and Clay, then they beat you in the playoffs without Ja, and it's
Nah,
we ain't had like you don't get to play both sides
And
of
that's
the
why
coin.
I said it's very AAU. It feels childish. And that's why I said AAU is because I didn't want to call a whole lot of grown men and I don't know and say they're acting like they're like children in terms of how they're representing themselves or as a team, not themselves.
Facts.
Team scenario in the media, but that's what it feels like. It feels like you win and it's I want to throw a celebration. I want to pat on the back. I want everybody to respect me, look at me, I'm the GOAT. But when you lose, my button was jammed, I had to use the bathroom, all these kind of different excuses that happens. I want your silence when you lose to be as loud as your mouth is when you win.
Fair.
So like either you're winning and from the get-go you're pumping your chest or you're losing and you're shutting the hell up. But you're not continuously trying to showcase your bravado in the moments where somebody deservingly so shut you up. So if you're up 15, up 13 at the half against Philly and then you blow the lead, Dylan Brooks, why are your hands up? Your hands should have been up playing defense for 48 minutes or whatever minutes you played, but they're not. So I think that's where the fraudulent feel comes in is like, y'all are only on this type of time
when it's going good, when the vibes are good,
when the vibes are all straight. But when the vibes are all bad, y'all look extremely silly. Y'all look like children throwing a tantrum. And that's why I say AAU.
All right, y'all. We'll see about Memphis, man. That's gonna be fun.
We're gonna see.
That's gonna be a fun one, man. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know if it's gonna be fun for them, but it's gonna be interesting.
Oh, it's gonna be fun regardless. I can't say that
They fun to watch.
I'll leave this. Yeah, I was about to say I'll leave on a good note. Memphis is still one of the most fun teams to watch in the NBA, and I think they're going to be probably one of the most fun storylines to keep up with for the next like 2-3 years. So all the drama I just said, cool. If it continues happening, I'm cool with it too, because I'm gonna smile and laugh and watch it regardless.
You say Trae Young's getting moved this offseason. I think it's Dylan Brooks.
Oh, I was gonna say Dylan Brooks needed to get moved. I said that. I think I said it last year, maybe.
Bro, I'm not even gonna get into my hate. I've been talking about Dylan Brooks.
I would say it might have been you.
Quietly. I've been
We had talks about Dylan Brooks.
for a good minute.
He's gone this offseason.
For a good minute, and I just all right.
He's gone this
No,
offseason.
I move him in a heartbeat.
So it is what it is.
I might sell him short, but that's whatever.
All right, last one, man. JJ Redick on First Take. I love JJ Redick on First Take.
I love JJ Redick, period. I don't care what outlet he's on.
I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of I think almost everyone they're bringing on the show. Even Mad Dog Russo. Like he brings a perspective. I
That is
understand.
annoying.
I see what you mean.
He brings a perspective that I don't think other people realize exists.
I was about to say, yeah.
So I think that's why
He gives a voice for all the people we argue against that don't have a voice. Then people think, oh, there's not that many people out there that think that.
That person doesn't.
Yeah, they're like, no, you're making up scenarios. Nobody thinks like that.
No, they do. This guy.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Greg.
So JJ Redick, and it was on First Take with Stephen A. and Mad Dog Russo. They got into a conversation and debate about Larry Bird and Steph Curry and three-point shooting, but the conversation shifted to physicality back in the 80s and 90s and all that again. And it's weird, but I'm gonna let y'all listen to it. Listen up.
The basket. There's plenty of people that have shot more, made more, and guess what? Made more at a higher percentage than Larry Bird from three. I'm not saying Larry Bird is not one of the greatest shooters ever. He's not one of the greatest three-point shooters ever. You cannot make that argument.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Because the 80s are so much different. There's physicality, the way they guarded people. Can you?
I've been trying to make a point. I've been trying to make a point for you, Doug. Come on, man. I've been trying to make a point. Hold on, guys.
Physicality, Jay. I mean,
Hey,
I love when they just ignore Stephen A. though.
I ignore him too.
Games from the 1980s.
Well, here's the difference.
I'm going to show you.
I saw the games. I was at the games. You were not. You watching them on YouTube. I saw the games. I watched the games at the time. I watched all these games. You didn't watch. You weren't alive when these games are being played.
I hate it when people say that.
I got something even further.
I hate. Oh my God, it's such a.
Rockets in '86. Were you at courtside watching these games? You gotta watch the games at the time. Watching them on YouTube 40 years later is not the same at the moment.
So let me ask you a question then. When I watch, let's say Steph Curry, for example.
Right.
When I watch Steph Curry off the ball in a playoff game,
Oh, he's great.
getting grabbed and held by Marcus Smart, they're attached to him at all times.
Right.
Then when I watch Larry Bird come off a pin down and no one's within 5 feet of him and they're shooting the gap.
Thanks for watching ESPN on.
All right, y'all.
I hate that argument from old heads. Kerry, you my brother, but these arguments right here are the ones you and me fight on the
dumbest
most.
argument you can make against an NBA player is about something they didn't. What do you mean? Do you know how many films that
Yes.
man has sat down and to disrespect him? Hey, Mad Dog, you not being a former NBA player, or you know what I mean, having that pedigree to go against JJ Redick. That's why I'm mad at.
I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I know
the
where
fact
he's
you try to
going. I
treat
know
him
where
like
he's
a
going.
child.
I
and
hate the argument.
I know where he's going with this.
I hate the argument of you had to be there to understand what was happening.
That's stupid.
No, I don't. That's what video is for.
We don't ever say that about civil rights stuff.
Like-
I ain't nobody ever said you weren't there listening to Malcolm X speeches.
The one thing I'll give you is you need to be there in the moment to understand the emotional aspect
100%.
of it, to understand how big of a moment it was.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot that plays into that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But I don't need to be there to judge how physical the game is.
Nah.
Yeah.
Film is there for a reason.
We're not talking about
I
when
can
they just
look
play the
and
radio.
see either he's hand checking them or he's not.
Yeah.
That doesn't require me to be in the arena to see. Because
Thank
by
you.
that logic, nobody understands basketball.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
None
not
of
in
us
L-
see anything in the
Thank
NBA
you.
today. If
Thank
you're
you.
not in the arena, you didn't see it.
Thank
So
you.
no, that's a dumb argument I hear every time from old heads. That is annoying. You want to say I need to be there to understand the emotional aspect? Cool. I don't need to be there to understand what is physical and what's not.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's how bad Mad Dog's like just take was, is that we're extremely upset about very two different points in the same sentence from him.
Yeah.
And I agree with Brian's point more even now. And that now I understand why he was upset. But initially, Mad Dog coming at JJ Redick stance over this and them switching to physicality is what we're going to discuss, correct?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct. And going back to, B's fully correct on that part. You're fully correct on your part. The two things that people had a backlash about were they thought that JJ Redick
Was
understated or disrespected the era of the physicality in the 80s or in 90s. That. Also, they thought they disrespected Larry Bird when he said he's not one of the greatest three-point shooters ever. He's one of the greatest shooters ever. Which one do y'all want to tackle first?
I want to take the Larry Bird point first because the physicality argument we've had a number of times.
It's annoying, right?
And it's annoying. But so tackling the Larry Bird aspect of it first, you know me. I'm as big a Larry Bird fan as you can probably find as a Laker fan, especially.
Yeah, especially as a Laker fan, yeah.
Like, I respect Larry Bird's game more than probably most people. I have him in my top 5 all time. What JJ Redick said about Larry Bird was not disrespectful in any shape or form. And I could make the argument Larry Bird is a top 5 3-point shooter all time. There is an argument to be made there. But I can't argue with JJ Redick's logic either. If you go by volume, efficiency, types of shots taken, you could easily argue Larry Bird's not in the top 5 greatest 3-point shooters of all time.
Easily.
He gave him the respect of he's one of the greatest shooters, period. I don't know why that's not enough.
Like, we're ignoring his qualification.
Like, he didn't say Larry Bird was a bad player. He didn't say he was a bad shooter. He didn't even say he was a bad 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
He just said, you're not one of the top 5
He didn't say
of all
anything
time.
disrespectful about Larry Bird at all. There was not a bad sentence about Larry Bird.
At all. So, no, it was not disrespectful to Larry Bird in any shape or form. He just had an opinion. He stated it. He backed up his opinion with his reasoning. And that was that.
Logical reasoning. You don't even got to agree with it.
But it's logical.
It started from 0 and it ended at 1 or whatever the linear you want to be. So I agree with you. Whether you agree with the statement in terms of Larry Bird's shooting being top 5, sure, I can name 4 people that we should have above Larry Bird automatically, and then we can start having a discussion, which is why I'm real cool with it. Like, whether you're gonna have him in the top 5 at 5 or not, he's somewhere in the top 10. I'll at least give him that. So I feel like we're nitpicking when we're having these arguments in terms of shooting ability, but we're talking. I thought this point was really interesting because of the way I look at JJ Redick.
Yeah.
JJ Redick is, in my opinion, one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time.
Absolutely.
So when we're sitting here
At every level.
at every single level,
every level.
high
I hated
school,
him,
college,
man.
so when we're sitting here
didn't miss.
and we're having a discussion about 3-point shooting, and you're disregarding the only person probably in that room, probably that building, probably the best 3-point shooter on that. I don't know where they were, so I don't know who was around the corner.
New York, but it don't even matter.
JJ Redick can have the argument and
step
saying,
outside his car. I'm the best shooter in 50 miles of this building.
Bro, at any moment of his life,
That's not an NBA arena.
as long as he's not in an NBA city,
I don't even know.
He could say that, and depending on which city it is, he could still
Exactly.
say that. So when you have somebody like JJ Redick tell you something like this, and you respond as if he
Definitely
was being
the best shooter in the
disrespectful,
Lakers.
I think you were being stupid, and you were just waiting to talk and not listen. Because somebody of his caliber making an opinion, at very most you should say is I disagree with it.
Yeah.
But to have a counterpoint as if he's not making one, as if JJ Redick doesn't have a basis for his discussion, I think showcases why. Now, granted, I do agree with your point that people like Mad Dog showcase a spot, have a spotlight because of the people backing them.
Yeah.
But that's why I always say it is extremely dangerous to have people like that giving a spotlight, because on TV it looks like he has the same pedigree as JJ Redick. They're both sitting there at the same desk. So if I'm a super duper casual, somebody who might follow Mad Dog or something like that, I'm completely disregarding one of the greatest 3-point shooters ever opinion about 3-point shooting.
And you told him, and what you told him was, I don't just disagree with you. You told him you wasn't there.
You wasn't
watched the
there.
video. You watch it on YouTube.
Oh my God, that's such a.
That's what you chose to do. And here's the problem. I have, because I also think that Larry Bird is one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time. I understand the concept. Like going back to y'all, I understand the thought process is Larry Bird didn't shoot that many threes a game
At all.
Like he's on average, he shot what, maybe two.
He averaged like
For his
3.8.
career, he's at 1.9. I'm gonna count when he
0.38.
got moved to small forward. He shot, I believe. Let me look.
What, 2.5?
2.5. Now, granted, he was shooting at a 40% clip.
Yeah.
But 2.5 ain't a large volume.
And a large volume. Cool. Now and this is what I do when it comes to greats that don't play in today's era. I can deduce that a guy like Larry Bird played in this era where shooting and the spacing was so much more fluid, open, free. He's putting up 5, 6 a game.
Oh, Larry Bird shooting 10.
And he's knocking down 4 of them. Like, 3 half 4 of them. I can say that and whip my chest and feel comfortable with it.
Facts.
He's a bad
I
man.
can say that.
And laugh at people while you do it.
Yeah. But I do not like when the old heads, and this is what they do, they take their greats and they make them untouchable.
Yeah.
They make them untouchable. We can't say anything negative against them, or we can't have any combativeness or argument towards them.
And nobody can ever
We can't
go
challenge
over
that.
there. Yep.
We can't challenge Larry Bird. We can't challenge Hank Aaron or Babe Ruth or Yogi Berra. We can't challenge Michael Jordan. I love Michael Jordan. Still needs to have conversations around Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Magic Johnson. Just because I was not alive to watch the tape delayed version of the game does not mean I did not go back and watch these guys play, because I like basketball. I want to know what you guys are talking about. So I went and watched the games.
The same film they watched, because these are the same tape games. And
Same tape game.
My tape delays are 30 years late.
It's 30 years
My tape
old.
delays are 30 years
it's
later.
just 30. Yours was 30 minutes. Mine is 30 years. Like, I don't know what else you want me
I
to say.
watched the game. I saw what you
I saw exactly what you saw.
I saw what you saw, bro. That's a dog you got on your hands. But that boy Steph Curry shooting from 40. That boy Dame shooting from 40.
And they actually guard them out there.
Man, my biggest thing
Dog.
is about that is
They're
like,
shooting 6 of them.
if you gonna change that generational thing that they try to do,
Come on.
it's two-way, because this is a part of the argument as well. Guys in the 80s can always do better in today's league. But for some reason, when we have this conversation with older people, guys in today's league could not play in the 70s and 80s. I have no idea why they believe that. And generally, they're going to argue physicality, which we're about to get to. But I think that's the craziest statement ever. I've said it before. Other people have said it before. Basketball is the only thing where people don't get a credit for evolving. For example, 2023 car is much more safer, efficient, etc. than a 1940 car. Like, that's just what it is. Over time, it gets better. Do I want medicinal care from today's doctors, or do I want them from 1950s doctors?
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy to say, oh, over time, everything evolves and gets better. But as soon as we start mentioning about players and skills and talents and things when people are going to get emotional with, as you said, you can't challenge their GOATs. Now, all of a sudden, no, they couldn't even play back in that era. Why? Because y'all fouled? Because there's a difference between physicality and fouling. Like, I'm getting tired of hearing that as well. Oh, man, yeah, you couldn't come down a lane back in the 80s, so we would have clotheslined you. So you're telling me y'all not playing basketball.
So what you're
like,
saying
that's
is
all
you
I
would
hear.
hurt me?
That's not basketball. How we started this whole pod with
Because by that
Jaylen
logic,
Brown saying something wasn't
y'all couldn't
basketball.
survive in my era because if you came
That's
down the
not
lane, I'll punch you in the
basketball.
face. Yay.
Like, what? And that they take pride in that. Like, y'all take pride for playing a worse version of the
I
sport.
mean, we could have a conversation about masculinity in a whole different debate, but
I guess I don't
So
know.
one of the main figures, one of the biggest figures of the '80s, Dominique Wilkins,
Who I love.
who I'm a fan of. Saw him play on my 30 year.
I watched Larry Bird give him 60.
And he had this to say about JJ Redick's comments. He said, quote, "First of all, Redick don't know what the hell he's talking about. I'm like, what basketball was you watching? To say something as idiotic as this is ridiculous. The physicality," talking about the physicality, of course, "the physicality that was a part of the league. Hey, look, when you can put your hand on a guy's hip and make him go a certain way, and you can put your elbow in his chest, a guy to slow him up, there's not that many guys that can deal with that type of pressure. For JJ Redick, who played this game, I'm very disappointed that he said something so stupid."
All right, quick response to that real quick, because I just hate the hand checking thing. If you're supposed to be a perennial all-star or even a good scorer and you can't get past hand checking, you suck. Secondly, I'll just go into JJ's response out of that, and then we can give our thoughts and opinions. JJ Redick definitely has something to say back. He responded that the trope that every old talking head uses, Mad Dog Stephen A, physicality. My entire point about the segment was that outside of hard fouls and fighting, the physicality, the basketball play, is not that much different than today's NBA. But it's become such a talking point that people take it as gospel. And that's exactly how I feel. Now, granted, I'm not going to look at you and tell you which one is absolutely more physical. I tell people all day, every day, I prefer 2000s basketball. Grew up on it. I think it had a nice mixture of both. But in terms of physicality, whether it's going to be Steph Curry getting grabbed and not, mind you, he's probably superstars I've seen in my life, the least called on in terms of being fouled.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's statistically proven.
Yeah, like in my life, it's by far.
Greatest volume scores of all time, 25 or more. He's literally last in free throw attempts.
And that's my point. So we could talk about what physicality is in terms of basketball.
Yeah.
But what I said a minute ago and what I'm going to always say is fouling and fighting is not basketball. So you can't count it as physicality. Like, that's idiotic. It's the reason why people shoot free throws when you do that.
It's not allowed.
It's not. It's the reason why people get suspended games for doing that. Like, fouls allowed, you're going to shoot free throws. Getting suspended games.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you just say the NBA wasn't as safe back then, but don't say, no, seriously, like, you say y'all could box and y'all didn't have all these health rules and things like that.
They weren't
Like,
policing the game right.
y'all weren't policing the game right. Say that y'all rules were allowed for something, but we're not going to sit here and put it up on a pedestal as if it was better. Because if you ask the entire basketball world, I'm pretty sure if you ask the guys in the 80s, like today, if they were cool with switching the rules around right now so they can go back to 80s physical play, it just wouldn't happen. Because it's worse basketball. And I'm saying that objectively, not even in my opinion.
Yeah.
Did anybody else...
Go ahead.
Did anybody else notice how Dominique changed that entire argument? The argument was 3-point shooting and physicality off the ball. Talking about Larry Bird runs off a pin down, guys try to shoot the gap, they don't stay attached to his hip.
Yeah.
And Dominique turned it into hand checking.
Because that's what they always go to, which is why I dismissed it immediately. Hand checking is the dumbest counter argument ever.
But my point is, yes, it is a very dumb argument. But it's a dumb argument in this context.
Oh, no, super dumb.
Because that wasn't the conversation.
Yeah,
No.
super dumb now.
It wasn't the conversation. We were talking about off-ball defense and the level of physicality played off the ball. Marcus Smart playing Steph Curry, he grabs him, he holds him, hugs him, does whatever he has to do to make sure Steph Curry can't get off that screen. Because we all know what happens if he does. You go back and watch 80s and 90s, I'm sorry. I've gone back and watched a ton of these games.
I have.
It is very rare you see guys glued to the hip like that, guarding somebody off the ball. The only guys you saw like that maybe was Reggie, Ray Allen to some extent. Excuse me. Jordan got that type of physicality everywhere anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say,
but once
Jordan.
he went outside the 3-point line, you didn't chase him.
Nope.
Like, it was anywhere, and Larry Bird got that to some extent anywhere 18 feet and in. Like, that's the thing they're not understanding. That, especially when we're talking about the greatest 3-point shooter conversation.
Right. Yeah.
Guys play defense in the 80s inside the arc. You
Right.
may have played full, and I'm not going to, because old heads going to be, oh no, we played full court pressure. Y'all did, but stop it. Y'all played it, and then y'all backed out.
Yeah.
Like, stop the cap. Y'all guarded the man full court one-on-one. If you couldn't push him with hand checking, you backed up and guarded him inside the 3-point line. Like, that was defense in the 80s and 90s to some extent. So to act like y'all played defense at the 3-point line is objectively false. It's false. Y'all did not guard the 3-point line the way it is guarded now because
It wasn't a threat.
exactly.
It wasn't a threat, dog.
People weren't going to beat you from the
It
line
wasn't
back
a
then.
threat. You
It was
did
a
not.
gimmick.
You did not look at Michael Jordan and say he's shooting that from 30. You did not think that. No one thought that. Reggie Miller showed up and scared everybody. Scared everybody. And the reason why he probably got the most hate and most attention on that is because he was light as a feather.
I was going to say he was a skinny, lanky boy, light-skinned boy shooting from 24 out.
Yeah, it was like, all right, we got to, because let's lean on him because he's not physically imposing. But y'all didn't do that to Larry. Y'all definitely didn't do that to Jordan whenever he touched it outside the arc. And anytime Jordan takes 2 steps in, that's when I saw this. Yep. But I did not see that. And when he was standing at the 3, y'all, that's nice cap. It's not true. It's just not.
My final point,
Because it wasn't a threat.
about all of this as well, and it was not a threat. I think that's probably the biggest thing about 3-point shooting back then. But my biggest thing about all of this is just considering the fact that when I'm thinking about hand checking in general, and I already said like, oh, you're not a good scorer if you're gonna get hand checked or whatever. It is not a good form of a defense in terms of like being proud of. Like the way everybody pounds their chest and was like, oh, hand checking was allowed. But if you listen to every guard or player or wing out there, they said, oh no, I had to hand check because I couldn't guard the guy. I had to physically move him with my hand because I couldn't stay in front of him. I have no idea why that's such a pride thing is I couldn't stay in front of my man, so I had to abuse him. I had to move him around. I had to try to hang on to him. And you couldn't move your feet.
And this is why it's so hard to have conversations with younger guys, because old heads, for the people that's in the middle, like myself, like B, like TK, for us in the middle, for the most part, when it comes to understanding the context of the game, understanding the context of the eras, and we have to talk to the younger kids about the game. They don't want to hear y'all talk about Larry Bird. They want to hear y'all talk about Michael Jordan. They disrespect these guys.
Yeah, they're actually far off of it than we ever were.
Right. Like, you listen to their top 5 all time, they don't mention nobody.
They got KD in there. Hands down. Like
they're disrespecting the 80s and 90s because of the way you guys have communicated the league to us.
Facts.
And so when we start trying to have conversations with them about, no, Larry Bird could play today.
Larry Bird would kill the NBA today.
Jordan would kill this league.
40 ball.
Like, it would be a long day if we had a hand-selected group dropped in this era.
But that's for any generation.
Like, and the reason why they don't want to hear y'all talk about it is because y'all don't talk about basketball. Y'all talk about fouling. Y'all talk about hand checking. Y'all
talk about the way the game was played.
The way the game was played. You had to.
He was a true point guard. Yeah. I'm so sick of the true point guard.
He couldn't shoot. He couldn't dribble. He couldn't get a shot. He couldn't create for himself. That's what you're telling me.
Stop. Y'all didn't guard 94
big
feet,
men
bro.
were big men, meaning you didn't allow bigs to shoot.
I was about to say, yeah, the big probably didn't even have any skills. Rebounding to conduct, that's pretty much it, and put people on their butt.
I'm not even
fouls.
And you know what's crazy about that, TK? Because that's what the kids would say. The kids would say that the big couldn't shoot, whatever. Man,
and
the big could shoot.
I knew some bigs that had skills.
That's why you didn't allow
the big
to shoot.
We didn't know.
But that's why you're only going to know like 4 of them that are going to be able to, during those time periods that are going to be popularized.
Look, what's Sabonis' dad's name? I'm drawing a blank now.
I always mispronounce it, but I know.
I would say I have no idea how to pronounce
Arvydas, I believe.
Arvydas
Sabonis.
Arvydas Sabonis. Yo, he was nice. like this.
Ralph Sampson.
Like, fam.
Ralph Sampson. Yeah.
Like, that's a name for
I would say that's the one you go to, honestly.
But because the way y'all communicated the game, the Mad Dogs, the Stephen A's, the Dominiques, and the way I communicated in such an arrogant way.
I was about to say insecure. That's what I feel. I feel like all those guys, all those stars are really insecure. Extremely insecure.
The way y'all communicated it that's turned off every younger generation to y'all.
I'm not gonna say it's insecure. I'm gonna say it's I want to say it's almost jealousy, because for a guy like Dominique Wilkins is a guy who, granted, is one of the top 75 players of all time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Dominique was a problem. Like, he was a dog, freak of nature by every measurement. Like, problem. The level of respect and financial compensation Dominique got for his career doesn't equal D-Lo at this point.
Yeah, nowhere. No.
Like, D-Lo is gonna make
off of one max, you're getting more money than these guys.
Like, he's gonna make $150 million. He's got everybody on social media telling him, "Oh, ice in his." Like, it's just the publicity and the financial that has come with being an NBA star now dwarfs so drastically what they received in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
I could understand Dominique Wilkins looking to some extent, looking at guys like DeMar DeRozan and being like, "What? This guy?"
I feel like if you're doing that, you're part of the reason. Oh, not part of the reason. I think that is bad for basketball. I think you're supposed to be
articulating that
happy.
would be bad. I can understand him feeling that on the inside.
I can understand feeling it.
But when you start articulating that and then you start using it
I'll
to
think
be
about
biased and shape your
moving off
views.
of that, like going further with that feeling is when we have an issue. You can be jealous, but that's why I called it insecure, because I feel like these guys are really fighting for their lives to try to remain relevant to themselves.
That's great. Like, the older or the newer kids are literally dismissing them. They're forgetting them. So it makes sense, but the way they're doing it is wrong.
It's nasty.
It's
and that's
nasty.
not how you get remembered.
That's
like
not how you get
especially
remembered.
in players and things like that. And those days, the way life has moved, and then I'll start talking about it. But the way life has moved is everything has changed. The way we communicate, the way we socialize, jobs, occupations, et cetera, et cetera. And the entire NBA framework has changed. So by that standpoint, you're never going to get what you're searching for by just being jealous. We always knew that this was supposed to be moving to this direction where you're giving these guys massive contracts, because that's not even it's not even massive, it's fair market value.
Yes.
The NBA has driven up that much revenue, and that's why you have CBAs and player associations and stuff like that to help protect these guys. So it's not like everybody's getting overpaid. We say that a lot. They're they're probably getting less than what our market value dictates for them. Or else the NBA would have been pushed back harder on the CBA.
Yeah.
But with that being said, if you're looking at the new generation, I'm gonna say you as if you're one of the 80s players, if one of these guys are looking at the new generation with any kind of jealousy instead of any kind of pride, I think they're completely in the wrong. Completely. And I think when you're jumping in on random conversations like this, because that's what I don't know who asked Dominique Wilkins' opinion.
He was on the show.
He was on the show. I think someone prompted the question to him and asked.
But when you
question.
answer with this much vitriol and you don't even address the actual topic of conversation, which was off-ball shooting, thank you, B. So when you don't even address that, I'm gonna call you insecure.
They should take the Lil Wayne route when Gucci made the top 10 list.
Oh, Gucci?
And he was like,
Gucci
made the list?
Yeah.
Shout out Gucci.
Yeah, facts.
I think that's where we are, bro. I think that's where we are, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because there is space for the 80s. For the older eras, I'll just call it the older eras.
Mad space,
There's
man.
space.
There's mad space.
We can remember and properly contextualize who they are as greats.
We got space for Wally Zerbiak. Why we don't got space for Dominique Wilkins?
We don't. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Like
he still can't catch straight.
Like old heads. Like people say what they want to say about old heads. Like we love Chuck. Like,
absolutely.
And I think all the kids that watch Chuck on TNT love Chuck. Now, is he funny? Yeah,
it's a love-hate relationship, but it's way more love. It's way more
love than y'all think. Like people love Shaq. Shaq be telling all these young boys, "Hey man, y'all need to step your game up." But they love Shaq.
Barbecue chicken.
Like, and it's not just because they're on TV every day. I think it's because they are properly they're saying how they feel, which is fair. Give me your honest thoughts. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel. But at the same time, take into account what we're in. Contextualize what the players are in today.
Yeah.
And stop going back to, well, that ain't real basketball. Or this is, you shooting too much. Whatever case. No.
Just recognize the game.
Recognize the game as what the game is. Now, if there's certain things about the game you don't agree with, cool. We cannot agree with it. But don't dismiss the game for what it is.
I've actually never seen like most guys from the 80s actually compliment today's game in any shape, form, or fashion. A player, sure, they'll say, oh, this player jumps like this or this player runs like this, but I've never seen in terms of the game in general.
Because the general consensus among older fans is they don't like the way the game basketball is played now. And once again, if that's your opinion,
cool, man.
Cool. That's your prerogative.
Cool.
You don't get to then downplay this generation of basketball simply because you don't like the way it looks. Because I'll be quite honest, I've gone back and watched those 80s and 70s and 90s games.
Bro.
And a lot of those games, I don't like watching.
I'm going to keep it a bean. There's not many regular season games I watched. I only watched the ones.
I just went back in the playoffs. Or the highlighted regular season ones.
Exactly. I watched the games where they went off. Like, I went to go find a superstar when he had that big night. That's the one I went to watch. But I went to watch playoff basketball.
I'm not watching Vancouver versus whoever on a Tuesday. Like, I'm not going back to
it. Bro.
I'm just saying, period.
No, I'm with you, though.
So yeah, like, I think if older heads communicated properly. They communicated properly about the game. They spoke on the game in a way that was honest. Yeah, you can have your opinions. You can have your thoughts. But you actually talked about the game and not just about the nostalgia aspects that you want to hold on to, which is hand checking. Hand checking is nostalgia. I'm sorry. That is nostalgia at its best. Y'all glorifying something that wasn't that, bro. It wasn't good.
Like, it's just always funny to hear how hand checking was so great of a thing for defenses, and then be like to hear guys talk about hand checking and be like, oh yeah, the guards today wouldn't be able to handle it. And I'm like, Mark Price handled it. And no disrespect to Mark Price, he's a great player, or was a great player, all-star, phenomenal guy. Mark Price was 6 foot, $170. He's literally my weight, 3 inches shorter.
Yeah, I was about to say most of the guards now, what, 6'4"
I'm 6
at
foot,
least?
$170.
Exactly.
I am 6 foot, $170. He probably looked like me, just white.
Like, if you're telling me like Kyrie, if you're telling me Kyrie, Steph, like they wouldn't be able to handle hand checking, like come on, bro.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
Come on, bro. Like they would adjust like every other player.
We get out on this.
You couldn't guard them. That's what it is. You had to hand check Mark Price because you wouldn't even be able to I don't even think you'd be able to get a hand on Kyrie. And we get out on this. And this is why I have to allow the young boys to talk the way they talk. When they say Jordan played against plumbers, I'm like, all right, you got it. Because y'all guys are saying facts, yeah.
Like, y'all saying they can't score,
they can't shoot. They can't like dribble for real.
Steph and Dame are gonna lose the ability to pull up off the dribble.
Bro, y'all wanna call the old heads
slander
plumbers.
everywhere.
You know what?
I don't know what to say.
I'm taking the young boys side. Not because I think they're right, just because it's more interesting.
There's a war going on outside.
Oh, facts.
When we the middle generation.
Hey, I know who's gonna be here after us, so I'm gonna take their side.
That's fair.
That's fair. Kind of dark, but fair.
Mad dark.
I'm just not gonna end up being that old head that young boys are talking about.
I mean, I don't know, man. Y'all started it with the All-Star game.
I was right.
Was it good, B? Was it good? Was the All-Star game good?
I watched it.
You didn't want to watch it. We started with your story in the All-Star game being bad.
Your shorty made you watch it. I don't want to hear, man. Get us out of here.
Crazy.
We got anything else?
I don't think so.
Shout out haters of the week.
No.
Besides Mad Dog?
Yeah, he's definitely the hater.
Or my fault, Dominique. I don't know which one you want to pick.
Well, they can co-hate.
Yeah. Generational hate.
Generational hate.
80s NBA hoop fanatics are the haters of the week.
Oh
goodness.
Man.
Do better.
Nah, man.
Or be
love
quiet.
y'all, man.
Full week of basketball, baby. Let's get it. Shout out to Carmel basketball conference champion state tournament this week.
Hey,
okay. Go for it.
Let's get it.
All right.
luck.
Shout out to them. And you got one? Don't.
It's still raining.
Still raining.
I don't got nothing.
Man, shout out to y'all, man. Shout out to y'all.
Shout out to the fans.
We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We be back, man. We be back. As always, hopefully. As always, easily breathe the game. Be safe. We out.
Hope I'm not back next week.